As the leader of the Booner pack, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the f*** up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys.
Welcome, everybody, to Crunch Time Sports. Let me get the music cued. All right, we're good.
Oh, great start there. Victory Monday. How about that, baby?
Great start. Victory Monday. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. We had a great weekend. Weekend of content. We had some great reactions from the watch party. Today we'll break it all down. I know you guys, some news came out today. We'll get to it. Marcus Davenport, potentially, he's out for the season.
I'm not going to say that. Never mind.
It's, what? What were you going to say?
I was going to say who cares, but, hey, it's because the Lions won. It's because the Lions won. That's all that matters.
The Lions won. And they won on the road, not scoring a point in the second half, which, that is like the bigger takeaway here. They won a road game without scoring a point in the second half. Like, that is so significant. It's impressive for a team that we look at as a Super Bowl contender. Like, I don't care. Yeah, we have to care partially. Obviously, the offense kind of went stagnant in the second half, but we'll get to it all. I do want to bring up the Davenport stuff first before we get to our takeaways of the game. Just to what?
I just want to celebrate Victory Monday. Can we have a little bit of a celebration before the doom and gloom, huh?
The doom and gloom.
Hey, give me the glasses, the chain. Can we celebrate a win, Jeff, before you talk negative about this team? Huh? Thank you. 2-1. Lions fans in the chat. Where's the doc at, huh? When I need the doc, where's John Macaroon at over there? Settle down. Calm down. The Detroit Lions are fine, baby. Hey, it's a good football program. Great organization that we have.
Great program.
Right now. Look at all the people in the chat. Hey, Jeff, no one wants to talk about Davenport right now. Look at all this Victory Monday in the chat. Hutch is him. It's hard to win in the NFL, man, as Dan Campbell says. Hey, the Lions are back, baby, and they're one of the best teams in the NFL. Ball don't lie. Calm down. Hey, you calm down, ETN. I'm getting worked up. I told myself today, I said, I'm not going to get worked up. I'm not going to do it. I was very calm before the show. I was calm, cool, and collected. I came into a hostile environment with you guys. I don't know what was going on. And then all of a sudden, Victory Monday.
Dude, what
do we do, Boone?
Hey, talk to me, Phil. Jeff is a bum. Hey, Jeff, don't be a bum. Hey. How about those Lions, baby? Now, there's some things. Listen, Ben Johnson, me and you are going to have a conversation today. Bet you that. Me and Ben Johnson will have a conversation today. But right now, hey, Lions are 2-1, man. That's a good football team.
Hey, well, you know what, Boone? Take it away. Tell me what you think of the thought of the game, the win on the road. Since if you want to celebrate Victory Monday, go ahead. Tell me what you think.
Sorry, I love Victory Monday. It's my favorite day. We only have an opportunity. Say you win. Let me just think. Say you win 15 games in a year. Victory Monday, like these glasses, I only get to put the glasses on for like 15 days a year. These glasses, I know they kind of look like they don't fit me, and there's beer all smeared on them from doing the Kool-Aid Jug. Listen, we only get like 15 of these days a year, Jeff. I want to enjoy them. The Lions all the time are going through. We're going through injuries. We could talk about the injuries later. Let's enjoy this Victory Monday, baby. I love it. You only get a couple a year. I thought, listen, I'm going to say this one time and one time only. Great win for the Detroit Lions. Big time, gritty win. On the road. Jeff, guess how hard it is to win on the NFL? It's tough. It's tough to win in the NFL. And then add on you're on the road. It's even tougher on the road to win in the NFL. It's tough. So, like, those guys were able to go in there. I don't care if they scored 0 points in the second half. They found a way to win. The offense, they found something in that offense in the first half. Maybe we put it into a full game. That would be pretty sick, wouldn't it? We have a great defense, a top 10 defense. Like, guys, this is a Super Bowl team. When they're playing at their best, no one can beat them. This team is very good. There's a lot of positives, I think. And I know yesterday we were a little doom and gloom on some of the negatives, but that was just in the moment because you are for a second. You're sitting there and you're like, man, like they should score 40 points on this team. Like, what are they doing? 24 hours later, you look at it, you're like, no, they just won a gritty football game versus a gritty team versus a team that wanted to win on the road in a home environment or a road environment. Guys, I think there's a lot of positives to take away from this. I do. And I do think there are a couple negatives that say, hey, let's fix these things a little bit. That's Coach Booner coming out a little bit, all right? But, hey, there are some positives, so I'm pumped about it. I'm pumped to talk about it with you boys. I apologize for the rant. I was calm, but then when I realized again, it popped in my head, it's Victory Monday. It's a beautiful day.
Yes, it is.
There's a lot of teams that lost yesterday. The Lions were not one of them.
No, they weren't. No, they were not. That was a big win. I think the thing that impressed me the most, which I guess I'll just get into it now. At least the defense, we'll have a whole segment dedicated to the defense, and I have some numbers here I do want to get into to further prove why the defense is been so good. But it is so refreshing that you have a defense that you can count on, and even for an offense, like I said, on the road, which is already hard enough to win. You don't score in the second half at all. They don't score a single point, and they still win. And Kyler Murray had the worst game of the season. They couldn't run the ball. James Conner, longest rush of the day was 7 yards. 7 yards, longest rush of the day, besides Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray led the team in rushing by 40-something yards. So the defense was a bright spot. And I don't want to harp too much on the offense because we talk about one half. The first half was excellent. They did exactly as I expected them to do, which was, establish their identity, prove that you have the best O-line in the league. Go out there, run the ball. You had 2 running backs get over 100 yards all-purpose. Excellent. The offensive line was great. And I know when you really dive into this thing offensively, I mean, they had the trick play before halftime we absolutely freaked out about. It was impressive. There's a lot of positives to look at in that first half. So at least they have something to build on. And we know what this offense is. So, we'll talk about it, but more so we expect them to get back to what they typically are, which is an elite offense. I mean, you had – I think Kurt Warner just tweeted out something like today about watching the Lions offense. So I'm not too stressed about it. I thought Jared Goff, for the most part, had the interception, the pick six that did not count. So I'm not talking about a pick that did not count. 2-minute warning. But Jared Goff did play better especially in the first half. He did. And they kept his pass attempts under 30, which is something that I just talked about all last week. Keep it under 30, keep them in rhythm, and they did exactly that. Play action, kept the Cardinals defense on their back feet. It was excellent. It was awesome to see. So I thought Jared Goff, besides the turnover in the first half, looked a lot better. A lot better.
Klotz, you go ahead. I have something on with the Goff stuff, too, in a sec.
Yeah, I just thought it was refreshing, especially in that first half, to see the offensive identity back. Jared Goff started out 13 for 13, might have even been 14 for 14. But David Montgomery, again, we saw in week 1 when they started off that offense or that overtime drive, the first drive of the game was exactly that. They just stayed with the run. They kept Jared in rhythm. Second half, a different story. But I think that first half for the Detroit Lions offense was the best half of football that we've seen from them. And I think that's what you need going into a Monday night matchup with Seattle. And defensively, if they play like that every Sunday, that is absolutely a defense you can win a Super Bowl with. Marvin Harrison, he made a couple plays, but he was pretty much held in check. Trey McBride pretty much held in check. And James Conner, you just said it, Jeff, longest rush was 7 yards. The only thing that was kind of didn't like that was Kyler Murray running outside of the pocket and making some yardage with his feet, and that only happened a couple of times. When you look at what this defense has done, and you look at the offenses that they've been doing it against, I think taken away from this game, Aaron Glenn so far, and I'm not saying go totality, but Aaron Glenn again, I think 3 straight weeks of being the better coordinator for the Detroit Lions, and I think that's saying something. I'm not saying that Ben Johnson is terrible, because Ben Johnson pulled out the hook and ladder again. I think he went back to the identity. Ben Johnson's going to get clicking again. But Aaron Glenn, I just think he's stepped up, and he's done a tremendous job so far this year. The defense won that game.
Yeah, and we haven't been able to say that in quite some time here under Dan Campbell. Shout out to AG.
I do want to, the thing I hated the most yesterday, I would hope you guys are with me, and if not, we probably can get a good argument about it. The one thing I don't like, watching the game, Jared Goff starts 14 for 14. He looks like vintage Jared Goff that we've seen over the last 2 seasons that's won you a lot of football games. And then he throws an interception. I went back and watched the interception. I don't know if you guys rewatched it. Guy was disguised, a guy coming off the guy with the long hair that you guys kept talking about, disguised like he was about to blitz and coming in. Last second, drops back, and Goff sees, it's a tough guy to see. Klotz, I'm sure you probably know, being on the defensive side of the ball as a corner at times, it was tough. Like it was definitely something that the Cardinals, like, I don't know. It felt like it wasn't like a big time where you're like, oh my gosh, Jared, what are you doing? Like, it was just like, all right, that was just going to happen no matter what. And then like the people online taking victory laps for, like, that's the one thing I don't like with this football team and the fan base right now is anytime, like, Jared Goff was perfect. He was perfect. And by the way, Steve Lehman said he was standing right there. Like, he wasn't like next to Laporta. Like, I literally just watched the play 30 seconds ago. I pulled it up to make sure. Like, I mean, I wish we could pull the play up. Like,
dude, he should have seen that linebacker though.
But the linebacker was lined up on the line and then backpedals the last second, and then maybe he should have seen him, but it wasn't like a thing to really, oh, that was just the worst mistake of all time. It was just like, no, that was just a coverage saying the guy linebacker disguises, comes back, picks it off. Like the victory laps of people when Jared Goff makes a mistake after he literally just went 14 for 14 is unbelievable to me. Like, that guy had a great first half. The second half, like, I was looking, a lot of these punts and stuff that are happening, like, there are, like, on 1st and 10s, it's like pass plays. Like, there's a couple punts, I think, in the second half to where they just ran the ball and they just couldn't get the run game going in the 1st and 2nd down, and they had to throw it on 3rd down, and they just didn't convert, and the run game didn't really click right away. But, like, I looked at a couple of the possessions in the second half, like, Ben Johnson's, like, throwing in run plays or, like, trick plays on 1st and 10, where it's like, what are we doing putting Jared Goff in this offense in that position when you have David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs? Like, what are we doing here? So, like, that's where it's just like when the second half woes, I'm not going to sit there and be like, Jared Goff sucks. He's terrible. He can't. It's just like the offensively, I think it falls on one guy and one guy only. I think that's the OC. And we're going to talk about that later. But I just had to address the Jared Goff stuff. I'm not a slap at you. I hope you guys know that, at least you two. But I will defend, and I'll say it how it is. Like, Jared Goff played a very good game, in my opinion, outside of that, maybe that one interception. I thought he was good outside of that. And he got pressured a ton in the second half. Like, that. What's rule number one with Jared Goff? He's not good under pressure. That's just like, welcome to having Jared Goff as your quarterback.
Hey, fellas, I got some. So I want to go through the injuries, and I have some breaking news.
Yeah,
so
I think I saw this.
Let's go through the injuries. We'll talk about the player I want to bring up. Then we'll talk about Marcus Davenport. So here are the injuries. Injury update. You have Davenport, who's out, season-ending injury. Getting other opinions, Barnes out a significant amount of time. Laporta and Aleem McNeil day-to-day. Brian Branch, concussion protocol. And Dan said as of today, he's doing pretty good. So, I mean, it's just devastating. I mean, the Davenport stuff we'll get to, devastating. Barnes, that's devastating. I mean, that is a significant amount of time for their Sam linebacker there. Not good. Aleem McNeil day-to-day, encouraging. Laporta day-to-day, encouraging. And Brian Branch and concussion protocol, not good, but could be way, way worse. I guess I don't know how you look at that. Concussions aren't really the greatest, but you have another player who's also just got announced, and that is Lions center Frank Ragnow.
This is tough.
And here's the official tweet from Ian Rappaport, who put it out. And this, here we go. Ian Rappaport, sources, Lions Pro Bowl and All-Pro center Frank Ragnow suffered a partially torn pec, making him week to week. A brutal reality for one of the NFL's toughest players who injured it very early in the game, but the belief it's not season-ending and he could be back soon. So, at least for the foreseeable future, some worse than others, no Davenport, no Barnes, no Frank Ragnow. So that's like pretty important players. You won't have these guys this week for sure against the Seahawks, which, that
week 5 bye cannot come quick enough.
I mean,
we were talking about it earlier, Jeff. Like, we were all kind of looking at the schedule when it first came out, like, why the week 5 bye? Like, no, the week 5 bye, as it turns out, is going to come in very clutch for the Detroit Lions. And especially with a guy like Frank, who's not going to be out for the remainder of the season, they're obviously going to want to be careful. But Frank, if we got to have that uncomfortable talk at the end of the season too, like if the Lions do win a Super Bowl, like when, and it might be after another year he finishes his contract, but Frank's not going to be playing for that much longer with all the injuries he deals with. So when you just see Frank get hurt, it just sucks even more because it's a likelihood that he's gone quicker. But Frank Ragnow, he's going to be healthy. He's going to be playing through it. There's no way that Frank Ragnow misses the rest of the season. Like that tweet said, he's one of the toughest players. He finds a way to fight through that toe injury like last year. the pec is an injury that you can come back from. I mean, C.J. Gardner-Johnson completely tore it last year, and he was able to come back that season. And if it's not even to that magnitude, week 5 bye, he'll probably be back in the middle of the season. And Graham, as far as moving to center, isn't terrible, but where that void's going to be felt the most is at guard, where Graham is now not there any longer.
Yeah, it's Colby Sorsdahl.
It's like, hey, it's like, what's the saying? The nut up or shut up at this point. Like, it's like, hey, if Colby, like, you got drafted, you've been developed now it's time to play it. Last year he got thrown into the fire and wasn't ready, but he was able to kind of learn more this offseason. The Frank one's big. I do think it's really good, Klotz, what you said, is you get through this Monday Night Football game with some of these injuries and you get back. Like, if you can find a way to win on Monday, you're at home, the hype, everything around it. If you can just find a way, I don't care if you win 13-12 or if you win 3-0, like, I really don't care how the team looks. It's more so like, let's just get to this bye week. And I think, like, in the summertime, we all hated that week 5 bye. I think now that we're sitting here and after week 3 and some of these injuries that have happened early on, we're probably all grateful and excited. Like, thank God there's a bye coming up. And I know it's early on in the season, but there are teams who suffer injuries later in the season. And then there's teams throughout, their years who get injuries early. We have gotten hit with the injury bug early now. So, like, the fact that it's a lot of, like Dan Campbell, a lot of these injuries are day to day, which is big time. Like, you don't, like, some of these aren't going to be like the Aleem McNeil one coming back. That's day to day is like big time. Obviously the Davenport one sucks, and same with Derek Barnes. Like, that's brutal too. But, like, the fact that Frank, and, like, he tore it, and this is how I know it's not that bad, is Ian Rappaport tweeted out, he tore it early in the game, stayed in and played through it. Like, he's tough SOB, man. Honestly, Frank is. So I'm not too worried. Like, I love the fact that, hey, we have a bye coming up. Just win on Monday. I'm not even, honestly, guys, I know we break games down if you look ugly on offense. I don't even care if this offense looks terrible. As long as somehow you win the football game Monday and you get out of there with a W, that's all I'm worried about. And then we can just get healthy for this Dallas Cowboys game. It's a big hit for sure, though. Like, yeah, Frank, I've said it a lot. He is the voice outside of Jared Goff. Like, he is the engine that keeps this thing running. We saw it last year, like, how big of a piece he was.
Yeah, and I mean, Graham also was dealing with an injury, and he hurt his elbow, I think, a little bit, and then he came back in the game, so he's a little banged up. Like, this offensive line, at least Graham, he's playing center. He's a little banged up. You need him to be healthy because, this is where it gets tough because, how Dan at the end of last season kind of told the guys, like, it's hard to get back here. I think one of the biggest things he probably was thinking about was injuries. Like, that is something in the NFL this year. Look at the injuries. I mean, the Rams just beat the 49ers with half their team missing, and you had the 49ers missing a bunch of starters, and that's kind of been the trend right now in the NFL. I mean, guys are going down. So the Lions were very lucky last year to have most of their team healthy. This year, you're already having some injuries here. Like, Derek Barnes was healthy all last year. Aleem McNeil healthy for the most part of last year. Frank Ragnow, he played a whole season last year, which, remember the 2 seasons prior, or was it 2 seasons? He was out for the entire year. Like, these things you can't really control. That's why you just have to capitalize. And I'm glad that Frank is not out long term, at least season ending, I should say. He's out long term, but not season ending. But, like, even for the Davenport thing, man, like, the Davenport thing is frustrating because it's, Frank is a guy that he's so damn good. It's like you're willing to roll with Frank even though he's been banged up, because you know what Frank is as a player. And, Frank's been a part of this franchise. Now, when you bring in a guy like Davenport or, Emmanuel Mosley, let's say, when Frank signed Emmanuel Mosley to that, a 1-year deal when he was first signed here. And this happened with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, 1-year deal. He didn't play really at all year. You take these risks on guys that are injured. And the risk is you're bringing, unless you, like, for example, Emmanuel Mosley you brought in on a 1-year deal. When he went out, you had other corners. Like, you kind of were like, all right, it's not good. You'd like him to be healthy, but you had some guys that could fill in. They didn't have a great secondary, but, it is what it is. Now you have Davenport, who behind Davenport, you don't really have anybody. You just don't. At least someone that could fill that role of getting 8 to 10 sacks or 6 to 8 sacks, whatever you expected Davenport to do. They have guys on the interior, Levi, who will probably fill in for Aleem, so he's not going to play on the edge. You have Josh Pascal, who will probably fill that void, but Josh isn't going to get you. That dude won't clear 4 sacks this year. I'm sorry. Based on what I've seen out of Pascal, he's a guy that's very good against the run, but he's not like a pure pass rusher, or that's not his specialty. He's kind of he's just well-rounded, but you know what? If that makes sense. It's not someone that I say, you know what, fill Davenport's void and you'll see Josh get a bunch of pressures. So that's the risk that Brad took when he signed Davenport, and you didn't really have anyone behind him. And you had Houston, but Houston's been disappointing. He just hasn't been James Houston of last year, or 2 years ago, his rookie year. He hasn't been quite what the Lions expected. Even when he's healthy, he's not good against the run. But Davenport, I will admit, although I was skeptical because of the injuries, he's looked very good. And I know they didn't have him against the Bucs, and Aiden still had a great game. I understand that. But we have to think kind of long-term here. Can you get by with Josh Pascal on the other side? Maybe. But if I'm Brad Holmes, I'm picking up the phone. And I'm at least just calling teams. I'm not saying panic and make some dumb decision of trading a third round. No, just pick up the phone and just inquire about who's out there that can come and you can just provide some depth. Because they have Isaac Ukwu, but I don't know if I want Isaac Ukwu playing significant snaps on a Super Bowl team. I'm sorry. And that's no disrespect to him. I think he's a developmental guy. So that's where my concern is. The Davenport thing, season ending, not having really anyone behind him. At least the Lions aren't married to him. Like, that's great. They don't have him on a long-term deal. But for the people that are like, Davenport, that's not a significant loss. Have you been watching the guy? He's played pretty well when healthy. So I would argue it is more significant than people are leading it on to be. So I'm curious how Brad approaches this. I don't know if Josh Pascal can be the long-term answer this season. I just don't. They had Josh Pascal against the 49ers last year. They didn't have DJ Reader, but DJ can only do so much. And Josh didn't really make too many plays against the 49ers, man. He had a couple, but it wasn't like, oh, yeah, this guy's a starter, or else he would have started this year. So that's where I'm at with the fellas. I'm a little concerned. This is why I harped on Matthew Judon all offseason, because of what he's doing in Atlanta. He's playing on a contract year like we predicted. No extension. He's just playing. So I'm curious what the Lions do. But it does stink, man. Like, I was excited to see Davenport. He looked really good so far in 2 games out of 3. But he's out early. Damn. I think it's it's not like, oh, season's over, boys, pack it up. But no. Now it's like, who do you got behind him? That's my question. That can fill that type of role, not just play.
Yeah, I think typically, like, some of these teams, like, you're seeing teams now, like, I think Hargrave's on the 49ers, season ending. Like, you see teams around the NFL who are losing guys for this season. Outside, like, obviously Davenport is potential season ending, and that's what it looks like. They're doing more tests. But, like, the Frank thing, like, you caught a break there that he didn't have a full pec tear. Like, someone just commented on my Twitter and was like, this isn't good. Like, he shouldn't come back until it's full. Like, it's a partially torn pec. Like, he's week to week, and you have a bye week coming up. Like, he could easily be back for this Dallas game. Like, some of these guys are all day to day. And I'm with you, Jeff. Like, I completely agree with the fact that Davenport is out. We were doing our post game last night, and a lot of the comments and a lot of the people that are probably watching this now and commenting were questioning and saying, hey, our backup edge rushers, that's like an actual problem on this team right now. Like, you have no depth. Like, Josh Pascal maybe, but like James Houston hasn't showed up, and outside of that, okay, what are we gonna do? Like, I was big on Isaac Ukwu, but he hasn't. Like, they haven't talked about him. He's on the practice squad for a reason. Obviously, they don't think he's good enough. So, like, you do have a problem to where, and I do trust Brad. I've said it a million times. I really trust Brad Holmes to go out there and, hey, let's make a move. We have to. And Brad said that, like, if things make sense and we have to do it, we will do it. I wouldn't say, though, on the defensive line side of things, especially edge rusher, we have that comfortable depth. Unless you want to say, all right, we could put Levi O out to the outside. But, like, when Dan Campbell did his press conference today, even some of the reporters asked him, like, hey, are you guys comfortable with a guy like – and I'm big on Levi O. I was one of the first ones early in the offseason to vouch for him. But they're asking him, like, hey, he's had injury issues. Are you concerned that is now one of your main pieces to where what happens if that, something arises with that again? What are you going to do? So I do think, like, Brad does need to make some sort of move and say, hey, we need to go get more depth here. Because you can't get into a position to where you have the defense that you start off the first 3 weeks as the top 8 defense in the NFL. and then all of a sudden you go through some injuries and you just don't have the depth, and then you can't go win a Super Bowl because of that. Like, you don't want to get hit with the injury and say, oh, our season's over. Like, that's not an excuse. Like, injuries are going to happen, so you have to make sure you have the pieces behind to be able to sustain that. At least in my opinion, guys. I don't know the secondary edge rush, how you guys feel about that, but I do think you have to go out and shop around.
Yeah, I mean, especially against the run, the kind of injury that makes this even worse is the Derek Barnes injury, because you have Marcus Davenport. If you want to put Levi Onwuzurike out there, it's most likely to be in a 5-man front. You're going to bring that Sam linebacker down, and that Sam linebacker was Derek Barnes. So it's going to be interesting to see, okay, maybe they think we need to put Malcolm, Enzo, and Jack on the field, obviously. Jack, you played Sam last year, so I'm wondering if when they're going through this, if they don't pick anybody up, if they're comfortable running with either Jack Campbell or Malcolm Rodriguez at that Sam spot, because I think that's what they're going to have to do if they don't get somebody, because I mean, Isaac Guku and James Houston are practically the same player as far as what they're good at. So you're still limiting yourself against the run, like against these running teams that are be coming up. Like when you look at especially the Chicago Bears, like I know that's not an offense that looks good, but if that offense just finds a weakness in that defensive line and keeps exploiting it, that could turn into an issue if the offense is struggling because the Bears defense is good. So when you look at that, I think that's something that they got to address some way, somehow.
Yeah, like I agree with the Barnes take. I think Barnes is he's a better player. I mean, for what they need him for. So like I that's even more significant. But it's really just about the depth. I'm not trying to argue that Davenport is like a top 15 edge rusher in the NFL. I just think from what they have, from Davenport to behind him, in terms of getting after the quarterback, like getting consistent pressures, or at least wreaking some havoc. Like I know he has a half a sack on the season. He has like 10 pressures so far, or 7 pressures in 2 games. Like he's not a star, but he's just someone that like, okay, Davenport's there, they're fine. Like, and I don't know, Josh Pascal, even though I've been very high on Josh, he has not shown he's that type of player. I'm not even saying Davenport's way up here and Josh has to reach him, but in terms of like consistently creating pressure, it just hasn't really been Josh's game. So I'm hoping that Houston kind of gets back to the form that he was at. But even then, maybe you kind of, you have Houston in on 3rd down and then you have Pascal in on like early downs. You could figure that out. Like I'm okay with that, but James Houston has to be the James Houston of his rookie year, which like, man, they need him now more than ever. Yeah. So I'm just curious which way they go, because the defense guys, and I'll just get into it because I mean the defense as a whole has been very good. I mean I got some of these stats here for the defense. I mean they're 8th in scoring defense, 17.7 points per game, 8th in scoring defense. And we know what scoring defense is to this regime. It's usually in the 20s. But no, it's 17.7, which is impressive. They're 4th in rushing yards allowed, 76.7. That's better than the San Francisco 49ers, the Cleveland Browns, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chicago Bears. So they have a better rush defense than all those teams. They also are 10th in total yards allowed per game. 10th, and that's 293 yards a game. Bears, 286 yards a game. So they're right by the Bears, who supposedly have this stacked defense, which they kind of do. I mean, I picked them up in fantasy. But the lines are right there. So I think that's like, even though Davenport, Barnes, and all these guys going down, it stinks. But, man, it stinks that this defense is playing so well. AG's getting this praise, and he's just losing starters left and right. But, I guess it's just the reality of the NFL. I mean, the secondary, and this is what I want to bring up to you guys. They're 19th in the NFL in passing yards allowed per game, 19th, 216.7. And shout out to Danny Bennett, by the way. He put out a thread talking about Carlton Davis, and I never really looked at the actual data. It's just kind of what we've seen. And Danny Bennett broke down how Carlton Davis has looked so far, and he's allowing 136.2 passer rating this season, 7th highest in the NFL, and he's given up the most yards, 224 among cornerbacks with a minimum of 80 coverage snaps. Look at the matchups he's had. So Michael Wilson, it was 3 for 3 for 36. Marvin Harrison, 2 for 2, 17. So no big plays there, but 100% completion rate. Chris Godwin, 3 for 3 for 46. Mike Evans, 1 for 1, 11 yards. And then you kind of get down like Cooper Kupp, 3 for 4, 22 yards at TD. Tyler Johnson, 2 for 3, 65 yards. So, at least for Carlton Davis, you don't see massive plays, but he's given up this is what kind of ties into the 19th in the NFL in passing yards allowed per game. So, Carlton, as much as I was excited for him this year, he's been fine. But based on like the numbers and when he's lined up against guys, Terrion Arnold's been actually a little better technically. Besides the PIs, the PIs are bad, but in coverage, breaking up passes, completions on that said player, technically, Terrion Arnold's been a little better. And I know he's facing better wide receivers, fair, but they had Terrion Arnold against Marvin Harrison Jr. on Sunday a couple of times. So it's not like they're throwing him on Michael Wilson the entire time.
No,
Yeah.
When he was covering Terrion as well, Terrion was, when Marvin Harrison was on him, 6 targets, 2 catches, and when you look at it, he gave up that touchdown the first drive, and he had the pass interference as well, but there's multiple times where they tried taking a deep shot to Marvin Harrison, and you just saw Terrion in his hip pocket perfectly in phase with them. Late in the first half, they tried taking a shot. Marvin Harrison had the ball in his hand. Terrion had a great pass breakup. So Terrion, you're seeing 2 things that he's doing very well. He's always in position. That touchdown, I will say, he was out of position. Marvin Harrison just ran a great route. Marvin Harrison was being Marvin Harrison. That's just what that simply was. And he's able to make pass breakups. So one thing is just tracking the ball. And that's something that Aaron Glenn, being a former cornerback in the NFL and a damn good one, will be able to coach. And it's just something that with the speed of the game. Because think about trying to run with Marvin Harrison, turn around, find the ball, and then break it up all in one motion. That takes time. Obviously, he's a very good player, and that's what NFL corners are supposed to do. But to do it against wide receivers like that and the quarterbacks that they've been playing, Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield is playing very good right now outside of last Sunday. Week 2, he played very good. And now Kyler Murray. And then you look at the receivers that he's going up against. So I think when you start seeing him going up against, the Tennessee Titans, who have a solid wide receiver core, but they're not anybody like the Mike Evans, Cooper Kupp. So when you see teams that have the weaker wide receiver core, I think that's when Terrion really starts to find his groove and starts to accelerate his progression. So Terrion, I've been not thrilled with, but it's definitely not Jeff Okudah. I can tell you that much. It's definitely not that.
Yeah, I've said it a lot with Terrion. I think Terrion, in the second half yesterday, he was good. He's improving. I think it's just one of those things that you're going to start seeing him click and just get better and better as the weeks go on. I don't think it's anything to where it's. I saw some people tweeting out, Terrion's been terrible. Move on from Terrion. Let him learn from the bench. All these different things, which is fine. If you have that thought, I just disagree. I don't think that it's a. I think he's been improving. And yeah, Jeff, to your point, he was on Marvin Harrison a lot yesterday, which is a big time matchup for him. He was consistently on him. And there was times too, multiple times to where he won that matchup and he's the one that made the plays. There was a touchdown almost. And guess who broke it up? It was Terrion Arnold who was in there to get the pass deflection. So yeah, I don't think it's anything to where anyone should have concerns with Terrion. I think maybe he has been better than Carlton. That's an intro. That's a fair thread right there.
Terrion in the run game too, coming up and making
makes tackles,
making open field tackles. He's been very good.
No, it's something to watch. The corners 19th in the NFL in passing yards allowed per game. I'm sure that'll improve. The safety duo they have, I would argue, best safety duo, one of, if not the, in the NFL. What they have in Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph. So the defense is fine. I guess my biggest concern this week has to be the Frank thing. Frank Ragnow's injury has me the most probably concerned right now. Because the defense, even with the injuries, I think collectively, you still have you still have some stars. You have Aiden Hutchinson still. You're going to get Anzalone back. You still have your corners. You're going to get Brian back most likely. Kirby's still healthy. So you have kind of Aleem. It's bad, but you still have DJ Reader. So you can put Levi there. Levi's been playing really well. And then you can kind of put Houston Pascal on the edge. So the defense, I'm not too concerned about. It sucks. Barnes, it sucks. But the offense, no Frank. And then Laporta's kind of I think he'll play. It's Monday. We'll see. I maybe they just tape it up and he plays. I don't know. Yeah. But no Frank Ragnow. I think either Yodi comes off and plays that starting guard spot. Dan Skipper maybe plays
Michael Neese.
Play that guard spot. Who?
I think his name's Michael Neese, I believe.
Michael Neese. Oh, that's who we saw in training camp a lot.
He was one of the first guys in at guard. I think he was one of the biggest guys.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. So that's where my mind goes to is how this offensive line, they kind of, because I'm not too concerned. What Panay, Decker, what Zeitler, these guys bring, but Graham switching over to center, already kind of banged up, and then you're putting a guy out there who's never played yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they got Byron Murphy, the rookie, this week, who's a pretty damn good interior defensive tackle. So
I'm interested to see without Frank just how this run game, everything gets navigated. Like I've said it last year. One of the biggest points I made, I think it might have been, I don't know if it was the Ravens games that Frank was out. I can't remember the exact game that Frank Ragnow was out last week or last season, but he was out, and you could tell there was a struggle. And one thing that someone brought up a point last season was like Frank Ragnow outside of Jared Goff, like in the film room and in the off time, like he's one of the ones that's in there in the quarterback's rooms. He's in there kind of leading, calling out coverages, calling out blitzes, calling out everything you need. He is literally another quarterback on the field for that offensive line. So you're sitting there and you have the number one offensive line in the NFL. Yes, Penei is the best offensive lineman in the NFL, but Frank Ragnow is the guy, the heart of that offensive line, the one that's in the middle, calling all the blitzes out and making those things. Frank watches probably the most film out of that offensive line. He is literally the quarterback of that O-line, and that is, I've said it 100 times, that is the engine that keeps this train moving. Like, it is Frank Ragnow and the offensive line. They built this team and this offense from the inside out. So when you have a game where you have your main, the heart of your offensive line out, that's where you're like, okay, Ben Johnson, and I'm not trying to be negative here because I opened the show up as Victory Monday. I said, hey, Victory Monday, boys. But when that news hits, that's like
it got real.
Yeah, because the second half, like you struggled a little bit, and Ben Johnson's play calling was not good. So now it's like, all right, next week we do have to trust Ben Johnson. All right, you have to call a game without Frank Ragnow. Like last year, and I would love, and I don't, we're on a show right now, so I don't want to be rude and go off and look at different stats, but I can't remember if someone knows the game Frank missed last year. It was a big game, and we ended up losing it, I believe. And it's just like a guy like him that's out. It's a big hit. It's like a guy like to me, it's like saying like, hey, Jared Goff's out for the game. You're like, oh no, like we have to find a way to get a win here. And it's tough. And you see backup quarterbacks do it all the time. But now you have to move this thing around. And there were times where the offensive line has struggled. You saw the pressure on Jared Goff. So something to keep an eye on, I think, throughout the week. Like I do think, and that defensive line is no joke with the Seahawks. Like
he missed against the Raiders, Boone.
The Raiders.
He missed two games. He missed against the Raiders, and then he missed against the Bears on the road, which
the Bears lost. Okay, and the Bears on the road, and we lost that, I believe.
That defensive line got work done,
and Frank wasn't there, so we lose that game without. Like the Raiders I don't really care about because that's an easy win there. But the Bears, when you lose that, like that shows you understand. Like, hey, Frank means something. So, like, hey, you're going up against a tough D line. And I know Dan Campbell's going to be like, we're good, man. We're going to figure this out, man. Like, Dan's going to figure this thing out this week. But it is a concern. I do think that. As much as I am hey, stay positive. Everything's fine. Calm down. Frank, to me, is like losing like a Penei or a Jared Goff or a Hutch. Like, there is concern to that. Luckily, it's not long-term. But to me, Frank Ragnow is one of those pieces where you're like, all right, boys, here we go. Let's lock in.
Well, guys, I just checked the game log. Like that Bears game he missed. Jared was sacked 4 times. He had 2 interceptions and a fumble. So
it's pressure.
Yeah, he was getting pressured a lot that game, and it was on the road outside in the cold. So it is that Bears defensive line isn't quite. They have Montez Sweat and the Seahawks. They have Boye Mafe, who's pretty good. But I don't know, and they have Byron Murphy, so they got some pieces over there. It's going to be interesting. It's at home though, so at least there's that, But he'll be out more. I mean, they have Dallas the next week, they got a good defensive line.
He could be back for Dallas though, because it is week to week. To where if he's off Monday, you have your bye week, and then you have Dallas. So if he's week to week and he gets 2 weeks off, you would hope maybe if he's week to week. Because if they're not going to put him on IR, that means he's going to play week 3 or week 4.
Yeah, but Dallas' defense does kind of fucking suck right now. Like, it's bad, especially against the run. So, I don't know. Maybe I'd rather, especially with how they're looking, because I know they're down the road right after Dallas. I don't know if it's the game directly after. But I would just want him to be healthy versus the Vikings. I think Vikings is when he needs to be healthy by, just because the rate that they're at, that's a game that I think later down the season, just because how they started off. I think they probably will be a playoff team, a wild card team. That's a matchup you have to win for playoff contention and to win the NFC North. That'll be a huge game.
Yeah, and again, I think the Dallas Cowboys, how they look, man, they stink. But they still have Micah Parsons. I mean, and usually Panay puts him in a jail cell, but he's still. I mean, DeMarcus Lawrence pretty good too. So they still have Panay, they still have Taylor Decker, they still have Kevin Zeitler. Like even those three pieces are better than most offensive lines. So like I'm not, but Frank is so important because everything you just said, Boone. So it's something to keep an eye on. Like I'm curious who plays that guard spot. That's probably the biggest thing to kind of look for this week, and who gets that spot. Because you've seen multiple guys play it. I mean, they've had a couple different guys.
I'd imagine
I don't even think it'll be Colby.
Probably Yodi.
I think Yodi, he stepped in for the NFC Championship game, and like obviously you're up 17 points, so it wasn't like he was terrible. So like, he was able to fill in. So I would say Yodi. And I do trust Graham at the center position. It is just like Graham at center between Frank, that's a significant drop off. Like Frank's the best in the NFL at his job, so it's like you're dropping off to someone like, and that's nothing at Graham. That's not a shot at reality. Yeah. So like there is a big drop off, and when your offense is built on your offensive line, that's where you sit back and you're like, all right, here we go. I don't get like Dan had the press conference today, and I know like no one knew about Frank. Like he went down the list of guys, and he just never mentioned Frank Ragnow. Like the fact that it comes out from Ian Rappaport is like that's mind-boggling to me. Even though everyone,
I don't know what his sources are. I mean, this dude might talk to like agents or something.
Dude, he broke the Davenport one, and now he's breaking the he's locked in Detroit. I guess I have to reach out to Ian. That is insane.
Yeah, and the Seahawks, I guess the benefit is this week you have an extra day, but also it's at home. Also, Calvin Johnson night. Also, the Seahawks are good. They just haven't really played anybody. Like that's the only. They just haven't. Yeah. You know, that's the only thing. Like I think they're a good team. They haven't. I think the Lions will be the best team they've played by far.
Yeah, it won't even be close. Hopefully, it's a wake up call for Seattle. Usually, Seattle gives Detroit the wake up call. Hopefully, it's the other way around this week, just because you look at the injuries. Seattle's 3-0. Detroit offensively is not looking great. Mike McDonald, good defensive head coach. Their defense has been playing very confidently. But there's definitely, like, you talk about losing Quandre Diggs, Pete Carroll. People forget how good of a defensive coach he was in general. And then Bobby Wagner leaves again. So a lot of things that could be happening in Seattle's defense that wasn't there last year that the Lions can take advantage of.
Let's see here. I see this comment from Arthur. Dallas dead last in the NFL currently in yards per game allowed rushing defensively. I mean, yeah, Derrick Henry went for like $150, didn't he, last week?
Yeah, Lamar sealed the deal with the run. Like the Cowboys, like that's why, like even against the Browns, like the Cowboys offense, Dak only threw for like 180 yards. Like Kevontae Turpin constantly sets them up in good field position. There's a Kevontae Turpin highlight from Dallas once a week of him just either getting kick return or big return to set up in good field position. And if the defense isn't stopping anybody and he doesn't have any big returns, like Dallas's offense cannot come from behind.
Well, I mean, guys, at least from the we talked about the offense as the offensive line, but what do we think of how I guess Jared Goff bounced back this week? I thought, and I was talking to Klotz about this on Bleacher Report, and I think it's important to say here, and you nailed it earlier, Boone.
Yep.
Jared Goff this week in the offense, because you can speak more on Ben Johnson here if you'd like on just the offense, because I think the offense, Ben Johnson, it seemed like he hit that trick play, and it worked, and it was fantastic, and we were freaking out. And then he tried to do it like a couple more times, and you're like, all right, Ben, you got one. Let's just, like, all right, one worked. We don't need to do it 3-4 times here and try and get another one. Like, now the Cardinals are on to it. But I thought Jared, at least from this last week to this upcoming week, I think he's in a good spot. You look around the league and just the quarterback play. Quarterback play is just down for the most part. I mean, you have guys like Sam Darnold playing well. And I'm not trying to disrespect him, but it's like guys that you wouldn't necessarily expect to play well. Like Josh Allen's playing really well, but Pat Mahomes hasn't for the most part. You know, so it's not just Jared. It's just quarterback play in general has been weird. Like Brock Purdy had a pretty good game. He still lost. But I'm not going to overreact to this whole offensive struggle stuff. I think moving forward, they'll be fine. Even with the Frank Ragnow injury, Ben, it seemed like in the first half, got back to what they were. And in the second half, it's whether it's play calling or whether it's not being disciplined or whatever it is, it just looked no points in the second half is kind of it's even though they're getting a bunch of yards. I mean, the Tampa Bay game, they had 400 yards, didn't they? And they didn't score in the red zone. It's
Yeah, doubled them.
It's like red zone issues and Taylor Decker jumping off sides, and you have guys jumping off sides. It's just like weird how everything's kind of. It's not been the typical identity. It's probably, or not identity, but the typical thing you look at the Lions offense, and you're like, they're pretty disciplined. It's been odd, but I'm not going to overreact because I think the start of the season now is kind of like. Not preseason, but it's like getting your rhythm. I'm not going to overact. This offense will be just fine this week, even against a pretty good secondary. I think they have a pretty good game on Monday.
So with the thing with the offense, and this is where I've come to a solution, and I would love to hear what the people in the chat think. I said it on the post-game show, like in the second half, I think it comes down to play calling, and there were 7 possessions in the second half, guys. And the offense significantly slowed down. You scored 0 points. Like, your defense kept you in that game. And I know, like, hey, we still found a way to win. I will take the win. Not going to complain. But, all right, what are things that needs to be worked on? First possession of the second half. You punted on your first possession. Guess what the opening play call is? It's a pass from Jared Goff. Instead of saying, hey, let's run the ball, let's do what has been good all game. We ran for 190 yards on this football team today. You should be running the ball on first down and second down and trying to give yourself an opportunity to establish the run to start the second half. And then you throw the ball on first down. And like, I'm just looking at it. I'm looking at it now. Like, it's a 5-play drive. First play of the first half, a pass short to David Montgomery. It's 9 yards, but like, you're just automatically going now. And then you get into a 1st and 10 again. And it's just like, you're just putting, like, he just kept putting Jared Goff in these positions to just keep passing, and they kept getting pressure and kept getting pressure. Then the second possession right away, guess what happens? You try a trick play to open up the second possession, and when it end around with J-Mo, gets a 7-yard loss, and then the next play you have to make up for that 7 yards instead of being able to, if you just run the ball up the middle with D-Mount or Jahmyr Gibbs, and you get 3 or 4 yards. Now you're 2nd and 17, and you're like, all right, Jared, make a play. Even though the pressure's getting to you, and he throws an interception. And then the third down is the whole the turnover on a down situation where on 3rd and 1, you get the first down, you don't throw a challenge flag, and then you go for it, and then you don't get it. Or however that was. I can't remember if they didn't throw it on the 4th down. You guys remember that situation with the turnover on downs?
Yes.
And you don't use a challenge flag. And Dan after the game is like, they told me that it wasn't close and we would have won it. But then you watch it and you're like, you would have won that. Like, it was a clear first down. And then the next play, it's another punt. You start that 4th possession in the second half, you start running the ball. You're like, all right, pound the rock. And you get a first down. And then as soon as you get a first down, guess what they do? Jared Goff, pass. Like, dude, pound the rock. Like, you have the best running back duel in the NFL, the best offensive line. You switch up the play calls from the first half. Kind of get a little too cute with it, and you're trying to, I don't know if you're trying to run the score up, what you're trying to do, but you get no momentum. And then it's like, if you start that in the first couple possessions of the game or the second half, then you just get into a bad, like, you're not getting any momentum at that point anymore. And that's where it's like, you have to keep that momentum going. And maybe Ben, and maybe for him, his mindset was, hey, we do have momentum. We're up 14-3 or 20-3 or whatever the score was at halftime. You're up there, and he's like, let's just keep the foot on the gas. Like, don't just keep, like, do it. Got you there. So this isn't me being like, Ben sucks. No, this is just, hey, that's what needs to get fixed. As you have to, like, know, like, the play calls, like, keep staying a rhythm, because that second half, you can't have that happen in a big game. If that happens versus Dallas or this Monday coming up at home versus the Seahawks, or if it happens, let's say, versus the 49ers in Week 17, that's a game you get blown out. Like, because like, you're not scoring 0 points in a half and winning a football game. It's just not that. So you have to figure something out. And yeah, like, Jared Goff's going to have to pass the ball, but he was 14 for 14. You can't tell me he went 14 for 14, and then the second half you just do it. You just drop the ball. That offense just doesn't do anything. There's no way. There's no way. They have to figure this out. And I said it on the post-game show. As soon as this offense pulls a full game, and they go out there and they're able to figure out a full game of offense and the defense that they have, even with the injuries, this is going to be the best football team in the NFL. like the best football team in the NFL, especially coming off the bye week. If the offense gets clicked in, and everyone, I see people in the chat, if Ragnow comes back and all these guys that are day-to-day comes back, this is the best football team in the entire NFL once everything starts clicking.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to your point about the Ben Johnson angle on it, I will say I thought he called a significantly better game on Sunday. I thought he
definitely did.
So
he had a lot of good play calls.
So he called a significantly better game on Sunday. But I agree, like the trick plays, they started doing it more after the successful one. Didn't love that. It's just, it's, I don't know. It's not, it wasn't necessarily like a red zone issue, and they ran the ball really well. So it's like the offensive line played better. I don't really know. I'm just kind of, and I agree here with Cartier. My point of view is, hey, it's just early. I'm going to let this thing kind of marinate a little bit.
You know what it could be?
I don't want to harp too much on a guy that's been so elite, and he called a way better game on Sunday. Like if he called just as bad of a game, we would come out and talk about it, but he got better.
Do you remember we were talking about yesterday? Something I brought up was the first 2 weeks, he was getting J-Mo involved a lot, and then this week J-Mo wasn't involved. And I think I mentioned it yesterday. As soon as he finds a way to kind of put it all together, like, hey, how do we find a way to get J-Mo involved in this offense while also Sam Laporta in the run game and Amon-Ra, and we're able to entwine it like all together as one, that's when this offense will start clicking on all cylinders. Because that was the thing on Sunday, to where in the first half, J-Mo didn't get many targets in the first. He had 3 targets all game, but in the first half, that offense was buzzing. But then you saw in first 2 weeks when you're scoring touchdowns, guess who they were looking at and was getting 9 targets in a game? That was J-Mo. So like you saw 2 different styles of offenses. Now you have to find a way and I think that's where Ben and again, it is early and there's like the rust factor of it, and this isn't the same offense as last year. As much as we have almost everyone coming back, every year you have a new offense and you're adding a new weapon in J-Mo. So it's like, how do we incorporate all of these guys together? And I get the people are like, well, this guy will go off this week. This one, it's a lot harder than that. Like, yeah, like that's correct. Like Ben even said that, but you have to find a way to get everyone like one cohesive group and get that thing rolling together. And maybe that's just what they're struggling with now. In the first half, they didn't really use J-Mo. I felt like all of J-Mo's targets felt like they were going at him in the second half because they were like, we have to use him somehow.
Yeah, they had that one incomplete pass to him on the crosser. And then I think they threw one more to him, but it was just incomplete type of deal. And I don't think they really made an emphasis at all because they really didn't need to. They were running the ball so well. They kept Jared Goff under center, which was pretty much setting up J-Mo for a play action shot. And they threw that to him, but Jared Goff to like wide to the right really wasn't that close. But they forced it to him deep. But to your point, Booner, I mean, J-Mo wasn't going off. He wasn't getting fed, but Brock Wright was a little bit. Not going to lie, Brock Wright was getting fed. So they'll find a way to get the production elsewhere. And I think once they get it all under the same meshing point, like you said, Boone, hopefully after the bye week in Dallas, I think that'd be a huge time for it to happen. They'll be all right. I don't think there's any reason to panic right now.
Like Ben Johnson and Jeff, this is your point with the trick plays. Like the 4th and 1 when D-Mont was lined up at the fullback. Like you guys remember me, I was mad about that. Like we're trying to do things that just like you're trying to do things that are different instead of sticking to what you are. Let D-Mont just come downhill, head down, and just get the first down. The fullback, it's just all different. Like why are we trying different things and going away from what's working? That's my whole thing with all of this.
Did you see Bijan last night to end the game, Boone?
Fullback?
Same type of deal, yeah. Instead of just running right up the middle, it was 4th and inches. They ran him off the edge. Like, it just makes no sense. So I agree. That was a good point when you brought up on stream. Like, I agree with you 1,000%.
Just get that man going downhill. He's a bowling ball.
Player.
If I want a bowling ball to go fast, I'm throwing it from farther and let that momentum go. I'm not, running up to it and trying to throw it at 100 miles an hour. Put him at the halfback. Put a real fullback in front of him. Put Michael Heese or whatever his name is in front of him. Or you know what? Malcolm Rodriguez. And just skip and just let that man just roll downhill and get the 4th and 1 and convert. It just feels like they're trying to get this offense to click so bad at times, and just they're right there. Like Ben's right there.
Yeah, at least from the offense and us kind of discussing it, and I get the JMO stuff and them like trying to utilize. It's like, Ben brought up, it could be this guy's game. It could be this guy's game. Sam Laporta this week. It was last week JMO. You guys watch like the 49ers, at least last year, it would be Ayuk pretty consistently. That's kind of like the Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then you'd have your Debo. You'd have a Debo big performance, but rarely you'd have Ayuk, Debo, and Kittle all go off, especially when C-Mac is out there. I think that's what the Lions are running into. Like there'd be games where George Kittle wouldn't catch a pass or he'd have like 2 catches, but then you'd have Debo, Ayuk, and Christian McCaffrey going off. I think that's what the Lions offense is turning into just because of how good JMO is. I think there's going to be weeks where like Sam Laporta has like 2 catches, but JMO and Amon-Ra and Jameer now and David are having these games. Like, I think that's just the reality. Like, I think unless they have a offensive, explosion where everyone's getting 4 or 5 catches at least, like that could happen. But that's not something I'm pretty much accepting the fact that it's going to be JMO. Some weeks you're going to go off, and some weeks it'll be Sam Laporta. Like that's where I'm at. Like although it'd be nice to have all of them play well, I just don't know if it's like realistic at this point. I don't know consistently. You know what I mean? Like based on what the 49ers did last year, you never really saw Debo, Ayuk, and Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle go off. You know what I mean? Or played well.
Yeah, but they were like
someone's got to sacrifice.
Kyle Shanahan, and I don't think Kyle Shanahan's like this guy's going to sacrifice this way or this guy.
No,
they
it's just
had such a natural offense to where like I remember watching. It was like Hard Knocks, but it was like a behind the scenes thing when they were in Cleveland last year, and I think it might have been like Debo got hurt, and the whole game plan they said going into the game was Debo. All right, they were like, all right, we have a secondary game plan. This is the next one. And it's just like you have to be able to know, like, hey, if a script's not working, boom, get to the next guy. Just figure it out, though. Like, you can't have, like, you never see the 49ers really when they have their full arsenal of weapons. Like, do you ever see the 49ers with everyone on their offense healthy miss a beat? Like, you don't. Like, the only times they lose football games is when, like, Trent Williams is out or Debo's out or CMC's out. But, like, for us, it's like everyone's healthy. And I think it's just more so that Ben has to get used to it a little bit because it is a lot different than what you've had. In the past, it was just Amon-Ra Laporta, and then you have your backfield. And that was it. Now you have JMO, who's a big-time piece, dude. Massive.
Yeah, and getting the guys, like the false starts they had and the penalties, like that stuff they have to iron out. But I guess it's what I'm saying is like get used to these type of scenarios where I don't agree with like this game is Sam Laporta's game, this game is this guy's game, because every week it's going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown's game. Who is it going to be though? Jahmyr Gibbs now catching the ball. Are they relying heavy this week on the run? And is it Sam Laporta? They had Brock Wright catching passes. Like I think it's just.
Getting loose.
Yeah, I think it's just about, how does what happens in the game? What does the coverage dictate? Kind of like what they had against the Arizona Cardinals. Again, Brock Wright getting passes. Like they didn't go into that game like we're going to feed Brock Wright early. It just kind of happened that way. So I'm getting more comfortable with the fact that JMO. I don't know. This betting on this offense has been hard, especially in my. We're trying to bet on who's going to go off every week, but at least
it's difficult.
Yeah, because it's like JMO or Sam Laporta or Amon-Ra.
You're making some fucking guap.
What'd you say?
I said if you get the right guy though, you're making some fucking guap.
Yeah.
D-Mon anytime hasn't missed yet. That's all that hits every week. D-Mon 50.
Yeah, and again, it's going to be a different guy's week every week. It could be this week JMO takes over the game. Or Amon-Ra. It doesn't matter. It's just what does the coverage dictate? And what does the film say when Ben's watching it? So we'll see. I mean, I hope Sam Laporta can play this week. I really do, because I don't know. The guy, it's been tough for him. He just had a good game and he's already out with an injury.
Yeah.
So I mean, it sucks. It really sucks.
I just hope I hope he gets healthy. He's been going through some injuries, which I do feel bad for Laporta. He had such a big rookie year, and it sucks for the offense to get going because he is such a big piece to it.
Mm-hmm. Security blanket.
I mean, the Purple Prince just said, Jeff, your Jags fucking suck. Yeah.
Hey, what about those Bills, though?
Bills gotta give you credit on that.
34-3. I'm in a situation.
Has 4 TDs, no picks, 6 incompletions. He's balling.
I need 8 more points out of Josh Allen to win my fantasy league right now. He was the last one to go. I needed 35 out of him. He has 28, and they're up 34-3. He might not play in the second half. Like, I'm a little nervous that he's
14
done it.
seconds left. He'll play through the third quarter.
I would hope so, but like that's still
I'd imagine.
one more touchdown. I think I'm good. Like one more touchdown pass or a touchdown run. I'm sitting that good, but
So Doug Peterson's fired. I mean,
yeah,
the guy,
Good coach. Why do they need to fire him? What can we do with the Eagles?
well, the guy. Remember we had that. Well, this guy won a Super Bowl. This guy won a Super Bowl. That's why I was like, well, Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl. Doesn't mean anything. He's fired. So
Dan Campbell's still the best third best coach in the NFL. That's all I remember out of that conversation.
At least you're saying third. You're giving Sean McVay that nod.
It's always been third for me.
I was told McVay was coaching for his ranking spot against the Rams. That's what you were indicating a little bit.
The head-to-head, I mean, Dan Campbell has Sean McVay's number head-to-head. That's a fact. Like the last two big games they've had, opening
that is head-to-head,
week one and playoff, the playoff game, like Sean McVay has been I don't want to say anything bad, but like thrown around by Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell has manhandled that man. Like Dan Campbell has single-handedly just said, "Hey, come here, Sean."
Sean, you see him after the game after they beat the 49ers. He's like, "What the fuck just happened?"
Yeah, that game was insane.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe what I was watching.
I mean, yes, yeah, it is what it
Helping
is.
the Rams though, helping the Lions out.
Yeah, there they are. Well, Boone, I know we talked about it earlier. Hutch came out and said today that defense was the best defensive game he's ever been a part of. You see that quote? Best defensive game he's ever been a part of.
I agree with
that.
that.
That's a big statement from your defensive player of the year, Boone.
It is. And Hutch had another big statement of a week. Like I think he had like 9 pressures this week. I think that like the defense as a whole. What was it? What'd you say?
I said Jesus. 9 pressures?
I think it was 8 or 9 pressures again. I don't have the exact number. I should pull that up. He dominated again. The Davenport injury, the Aleem McNeil injury. Like, hey, guys got to step up on the defensive line. The secondary guys, one thing that I said and what I loved seeing this week, at the beginning of the season, we talked about it. To become a top 10 team in the or top 10 defense in the NFL, the secondary had to be a top 20 pass defense. You have a top 5 run defense, probably top 3 right now, if not the best. If your secondary can just get it together and you put out there a top 20 pass defense in the NFL, this defense is going to be legit. This is a Super Bowl defense. I don't know if you guys get the feeling from these guys, but holding this team to 3 points, essentially, to me, it felt like it was 0 points in the second half. Unbelievable. Like Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph, probably, we said it on the stream yesterday, probably the best safety duo in the NFL. And they're like, Kirby's only in year 3, year 4. Brian Branch is in year 2. Like, they're only going to get better. Like, you have these guys for years going ahead, and they're already probably the best safety duo in the NFL. And now you have Terrion, who just keeps getting better, and Carlton Davis. Like, I'm with Hutch. The defensive performance is like going out there and holding them to 13 and only 3 points in the second half is unbelievable. Like, it is one of the it's a shock because your offense was supposed to be the big bad Detroit Lions offense, top 5 offense in the NFL, and it's been your defense that's kept you in won you games. Like, if we went into last week, guys, and I told you guys, like, I came from the future and came back and was like, hey, boys, this defense is going to win you the game. You guys would be like, yeah, shut up, Booner. You're an idiot.
I don't know, after the way they've been playing the first 2 weeks. Like, I know week 1, like, we talked about Stafford giving up a bunch of yards, but that's just what Matthew Stafford does. Like, Matthew Stafford finds a way to get the stat pad for narrative out there, make sure it lives on, never lets it die. And then you look, Kyler Murray, that's an offense that's been humming. They kept James Conner in check. I think I would have absolutely believed you if you told me that happened. And they've been having to really limit 2 wide receivers. They really only had to limit 1. If Michael Wilson's the one that's getting loose out there on the sideline, making the highlight catches and the highlight plays, then, yeah, I would 100% tell you that the Detroit Lions defense would have been able to win that game, and they did. They shut them down.
The best safety, they're up there. I was thinking about this today because we talked about it, on the post-game show. And the only safety duo I would put right up there with them is Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons. I'm trying to think of like other safety duos. I know I'm missing some just off the top of my head.
Saints with Tyron and Adebo. They're nice. Paulson Debo's nice.
He is a safety, ain't he?
Mm-hmm.
That's the Saints. But yeah, I mean, I would say that, and the depth they have in the safety room, you could argue best safety room in the NFL because of Iffy. Like if he's what he was last year to end the stretch of games, they definitely have the best safety room in the NFL collectively. Because the Falcons have Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons. I don't know who their third safety is, who comes off and I don't know, but I know Iffy's probably better than that player. So
I wonder when he's supposed to return. Has there been any update on him, Boone? You hear anything about that?
With who?
Iffy?
Have not heard anything.
Not on our.
This is week 4 in my mind, and I said this last week. Like I do think that they never put him on IR. IR is a 4-week thing, to where if he doesn't return this week, it was probably not smart for them not to put him on IR, unless they thought maybe there was a little opportunity. But like if you go 4 weeks without playing and you didn't get put on IR, I mean, like this would be the
Probably
4th
after
week.
the bye.
Yeah, like at that point though, if you knew he was out and kind of in and out, you were questioning it. You should have just said, "Hey, like let's throw you on IR. We can get someone else up and get someone else, another edge rusher or someone up on the roster, and then you can get him back for Dallas."
Yeah, I mean, he had a big game against Dallas last year. Had a pick on Dak, made multiple plays on Jake Ferguson. So if you can get Iffy back, and you're still talking about guys like Lee McNeil not being out there just in run support, Iffy would be huge, and obviously in the passing game. But you'll need him. Like he's one of those guys that you can put as like a sub linebacker and send it Dak when you can't get Marcus Davenport going after him. So Iffy's definitely a crucial piece of this defense when he returns.
Nick says, did they say anything about Ragnow? Do they know? We talked about Ragnow. And guys, I'll even add this. If we're talking about, I saw a comment, people talking about whether he plays in the Seahawks game or not. Even if he's able to, he should not play in that Seattle game. I don't think you should put Frank out there at all.
You're talking about Monday?
Yeah. I don't know.
No.
He's not going to play, but even if there's an off chance he wants to play, there's no way in hell he would be able to play.
You have a bye week, just give him 2 weeks off.
And then and then give him the bye.
That's what I would say.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm at with it. But yeah, we talked about the Frank thing. It's significant, but at least it's not season ending. I mean, that's the bigger thing to take away. It sucks. I mean, it does. But and the thing I do look at it, guys like that have played and don't miss games. Like it makes you appreciate Penei Sewell even more. Like Penei Sewell never misses a game. I know he's at a different point in his career, but that dude, I don't even know the last time he missed a game. I'm trying to think. I
think he missed one. I think he's missed one. I can't remember what exactly it was, but I think he's missed one game in his career, and that even could be wrong.
Wild.
Who, Penei?
Yeah.
I don't think Penei's ever missed a game. I'll double check here with you guys real quick.
So, but that's even more. It makes you just appreciate that man more. I mean, how hard it is. I mean, it is. It's crazy. Detroit says, who starts at left guard? It'll probably be Dan Skipper or Colby or Yodi. I think if we put the lines in, the betting lines, I think Yodi comes in at like minus 200. He's like minus 200 favorite. Right behind him, Dan Skipper.
Yeah,
I would take Colby probably plus money at this point.
So Penei's played in 16, 17, 17, and then 3, and then he hasn't missed in the playoffs. I don't know. In 2021, I don't know if they only played 16 games. Let me double check.
No, I think they
played in 17. So he missed one game his rookie year, and that's it. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Shout out Penei. And he had the injury earlier a couple weeks ago, and he still just ends up being like, I'm good. The ankle injury.
That's wild. Well, let's
tough offensive line, man. And I'm honestly, that offensive line, those guys are absolute dogs.
Well, let's bring in Michael. All right, Mr. Michael Gentry.
Yeah, I need to hear what Lunk has to say about this game.
Hey, let's bring in Mr. Michael Gentry. Please welcome the man, the myth, the legend.
Victory Monday.
Gentlemen, Victory Monday. Victory Monday, boys. How we doing?
Hey, did you see you saw the Frank news, Mike? You sent me it. What are your thoughts? Not season ending, but could be a little longer for him being out.
It's definitely not good news or news that you wanted to hear. It's kind of crazy how he finished the game and you didn't even notice really that there was an injury. But hearing that one of your best players on the offensive line goes down, never good news. Never good news.
Well, Davenport's right next to him. Season ending, Mike.
We gotta bring Matty Betts back, Boone.
You can't be doing all that. No,
Isaac Ukwu?
that is not the answer.
By the way, I want to make an announcement. Can we get the buzzer? Can someone hit the buzzer for me? The pizza bet has been paid off. The pizza bet has been paid off. I woke up early on Sunday, got everything ready for the game. I called and ordered some good pizza. It wasn't bad pizza. It was good pizza. Shout out.
Good pizza.
It was
good
was
pizza.
not cheap pizza. I paid some good money for it. Picked it up on the way over to where we did our show at, and we had pizza for the boys for the show on Sunday.
It wasn't no Little Caesars. You did good, Boom.
Yep.
You
thank
did
you.
good. Took care of the boys, and he came through. He came through on his behalf. On his behalf, hey, Boone paid up. Now, if he signs Matty Betts, if they sign him and he gets a sack, what happens now?
You pay back.
Now we're in a predicament.
What happened with Isaac Ukwu? Like, if Isaac Ukwu gets signed and has a sack, what do we do?
Yeah, I mean,
I think I sold you one more pizza. Actually, did we do double or nothing?
No, that one will cancel out. We'll just
Forgot about that one. To be honest,
that
as we're
sounds
talking
so good
through it
right
a
now,
little bit.
too.
They're gonna need Ukwu now. Call that man up.
I do have a question. Someone did put in the chat. Who do you guys think steps in for Davenport? Like, who was it last? Was it Levi?
I'm imagining they're going to put Pascal or Levi down, and they're going to have to bring a linebacker down.
But even if you have Levi, Aleem is day to day. What if Aleem doesn't play Monday?
No, it's going to be Levi replacing Aleem, and then Josh Pascal, and then James Houston on third down.
What about Broderick Martin? Oh, Broderick's on IR.
Yeah.
Forgot about Big Brod, man. He's
You
on IR.
You ain't playing him and DJ. He's a nose tackle, so you're playing him. Like if DJ
hey, Big Brod would get in there and he'll mess someone up. You put him next to DJ Reader. I don't care.
Hey,
I forgot Broderick's on the IR though.
If you want to have a rotation, if you want to have a rotation with Levi, Mekhi Wingo, I think he almost got half a sack last week. Hey, Hutch got it, but he was right
Get
there.
his nose in there.
Let me go look at his. I'm gonna go on PFF and look up some Mekhi Wingo real quick. I just want to see how many snaps he played.
Yeah, because he played some snaps and he was moving. It was a run play. They ran the ball.
Oh my gosh, Mekhi, are you guys ready for this?
What happened?
So week 2, 14 snaps. Week 1, 6 snaps. Week 2, 14 snaps. Every single week his grade has gotten better and better and better. Keeps improving. He's had 1 tackle week 1, 1 tackle week 2, and a quarterback rush or quarterback hurry. Week 3, 3 total tackles, 2 quarterback hurries, and 2 pressures, and 28 snaps. So he went from 14 to 28 snaps. He doubled his snap count, and all of his grades went up, and his numbers went up. He looked good. He had a stop, which I think is like a stuff at the line of scrimmage. Like, hey. Mekhi Wingo, only his 6th-round pick, man, in week 3, going out there and showing out. I respect it.
I mean, another guy that you probably would hope at some point can play would be Christian Mahogany. I know he's like the dude's yeah, he should be like the guy that you'd be like, hey, we should play this guy at guard if Graham's playing center, but he has not been like close to a successful pick there. But you know what? Speaking of successful, a segment we do every week that's very successful. Booner, giving out your Kool-Aid jugs.
Oh man,
I'm very curious who gets the Kool-Aid jugs this week. I have a feeling it's going to be a lot on one side of the ball. Boone, what do you think?
Hey, Boone, before you go, yesterday's Kool-Aid chug. Before you go, yesterday's Kool-Aid chug celebration was an all-time, Boone.
Should we play it?
Give it up for Boone. It was all.
You know what?
Can we open my Kool-Aid? I appreciate that. I respect coming from you, an OG. Can we play it to open up each segment of the Kool-Aid segment?
That's a great idea, Boone. Do that every week. Yeah, get it pulled up.
Yep, we'll pull it up. Let me get the Kool-Aid.
Time,
it's very fitting we play the Kool-Aid video before the Kool-Aid segment. That's fair. You know what? Let's see. If you didn't see it, well, here it is. Booner just going absolutely wild with this Kool-Aid. So let's and you know what? He did get the sponsors in the shot. Let's see this. Let's see this thing about Booner.
See, these are Detroit Lions, baby. Wow! Hey, the Detroit Lions are a Super Bowl team. No one doubt the Detroit Lions again. I'm in Ross St. Brown, David Montgomery, and guess what the Detroit Lions have this year? They have a defense. We're drinking the Kool-Aid to the Super Bowl. Had to get that out to the Super Bowl Kool-Aid. Woo!
Oh, Boone, you cut the last 3 seconds.
The last couple seconds.
Oh,
was bad.
that would have been iconic, Booner.
Yeah,
all
no, it was a
time.
great video. It was
Yeah,
one of the better
now I want to know the
It's
deleted
just
footage.
sometimes I leave them in sometimes. Like
He was
last year, I left
recovering.
a lot of the endings in just up to a certain point, but sometimes the faces and like after like the aftermath, like for the people, I do a lot for like so I don't think people sometimes like they're like, oh, Booner, drink all of it. Like last year, I almost waterboarded myself like multiple times and like drowned myself. And I'm like, there was a time, and I had to cut it last year where I just like threw up Kool-Aid after because it was just like I just waterboarded myself, and I'm like, so like it's only for professionals. It's one of those things where it's like, hey, only professionals do this. Don't try this at home, kids, because it does get a little dangerous out there. I cut that one out though because I watched it at the end, Klotz. It was like, oh, this is a bad look.
It was comedy.
No, I love doing those. Though. It was a good time.
So Boone, who gets the jugs this week? Who gets the
Yeah,
Kool-Aid?
I've got 3 this week. So again, we do the Kool-Aid Jugs after wins. Pick the three best guys who made a significant impact for me to be able to drink the Kool-Aid. First one, Jeff, I did send you the graphics. Would you be able to pull those up in Slack? Would you?
Yep, I got you.
So the first one,
walk me through the first one, and then I'll pull it up.
yeah. So the first one's a defensive player. Wanted to go defensive player on the first one. You could have gone a few different guys on this, and I guess I just thought there was one player who just absolutely stood out. He was a stud. It took me back to some of his early games in his career to where you're like, man, this guy is everywhere. And it felt like if he wasn't on the field on Sunday, there would have been some gaps in this defense. There would have been a lot of guys making big plays, and he stopped a lot of big plays from happening. That is the second best defensive player on this football team. The safety, Brian Branch, baby. Brian Branch gets the first Kool-Aid jug. It was between Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph. Kirby did have the interception, but Kirby only had 3 or 4 tackles. Brian Branch was everywhere. He had 9 total tackles. 6 of them were solo, a tackle for a loss, 2 pass deflections, made big-time plays. And you know what? I hope this man is back for Monday because he was knocked out and he did not look good. But Dan Campbell came out today and said it was tough. But Dan Campbell said he's day to day. He looked good today. He felt good today. So potentially we get Brian Branch. But, guys, I think he was the best defensive player on the entire field. Like what Brian Branch did yesterday, it was just one of those games where you blinked, oh, Brian Branch again. Oh, Brian Branch again. Even if he didn't get credit for a play that was made, that man was still around there. He was probably, in my opinion, Jack was the green dot. I would say Brian Branch was the captain, though, sitting back there being like, oh, do this. Let's do this. And he saw the whole field. If you didn't have Brian Branch yesterday, I think Brian Branch makes this defense what it is. I believe that. I think up front it's Aiden Hutchinson, and back in the secondary is Brian Branch. And I will die on my last breath fighting people for that. And he deserves a lot more credit than what he gets. And so I'll give it to him this week. He had 9 tackles, is insane. Tackle for a loss. Like Ansel was out. Guess who stepped up? Brian Branch. So I love Brian Branch. He deserves the first Kool-Aid pitcher of the week for the Detroit Lions. Give a little clap it up for the fellas. Come on, here we go. Here we go. I want to do the little air horn here. How do I do the air horn? How do I do an air horn here? Air horn, Brian Branch, baby. Brian Branch, baby. All right, second one. Offensive side of the ball. Klotzy,
Boone.
I hate to tell you I get disappointed in you. I was disappointed yesterday in the post-game show. We talked about our best offensive players. You went one guy and you didn't go this guy, and it was really disappointing because I think the best offensive player in the entire game yesterday was the man who is just an absolute dog. No one can bring this guy down. He is the heart of this Detroit Lions offense. The offense, guys, right now, the first 3 weeks, starts through David Montgomery. David Montgomery gets the second Kool-Aid pitcher. Klotzy, this isn't at you. You said Jahmyr Gibbs. David Montgomery yesterday, 122 total yards, 4.7 yards per touch, and a touchdown. Anytime you needed yards, guys, and this is what I love D-Mont for. I love D-Mont for this. Anytime you need yards, you can rely on David Montgomery to get it. Every single time. You need a first down. Now, I know there was the 4th and 1. Listen, challenge it, Dan. Challenge it. He's a bully. Yeah, I kept saying that yesterday, too, on a bully ball by this guy. Like, David Montgomery is one of the best backs in the league right now. And Klotzy, I get what Jameer did yesterday. He had like 102 yards, 103 yards, 122 yards, and he was catching the ball out of the backfield. This man was a big game. He deserves credit. Even when he has a better game than Jahmyr Gibbs, still people go, oh, Jahmyr Gibbs, because he's fun and he's flashy to watch. But no one wants to go D-Mont. I'll go D-Mont. How about that, Klotzy? Huh?
Go for it,
I don't
Booner.
need flashy. I want hard-nosed bully ball. David Montgomery. That's what Dan Campbell and this Detroit Lions team about. Give me David Montgomery as my second Kool-Aid pitcher.
Love it.
Love it,
Hey,
Boone.
I think that's well deserved, Boone. I do. I love it.
I was
Great.
shocked the amount of people who were like, "Oh, Jahmyr Gibbs or Amon-Ra had a good game." David Montgomery deserves praise every week. It feels like.
Yeah,
I
he
think
does.
this is the second one that I've given to him. Actually,
Very integral to this offense. Without him, it would be different. It just would.
this is a shocking one. The last one. I bet you. Don't put it up yet, Jeff. I would love the people, and don't even put it on our. Don't share it yet because I don't want the fellas to see it. I would like you guys to guess in the chat. Who do you guys think the third Kool-Aid jug will go to?
I'm gonna go Jack
I got-
Campbell, stepping
I'm
up in Enzo's spot.
I'm going with
What?
a different Jack Fox.
Okay. Now let's see in the chat what people think. A lot of Jack Foxes. I love Jack Fox, man. Love Jack Fox.
Yeah, a lot of Jack Fox love, Boone.
All right.
Rock right.
Right.
All right.
Oh,
I love it because I thought outside the box for this one, and I'm the only one. No, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it yet. I'm the only one to give this man credit. No one. Hey, they said, hey, Booner, you were saying bad things about this guy last year. No, guess what I did? I said, hey, Aaron Glenn, we need to step it up. Let's get a defense out on the football field, AG. Guess what that man's done through 3 weeks? 13 points allowed yesterday, guys. Unbelievable defense from Aaron Glenn. Great plan. That man, he held Kyler Murray to 40-something yards, season low. He allowed 3 points were allowed in the second half, guys. 3 points. When your offense took an absolute dump on the ground and didn't do anything for 7 possessions in the second half, guess what AG and that defense did? They held them to 3 points in the second half. How often in the NFL, guys, do you not score in a half and you hold on to a lead because your defense had 3 points allowed? Like, that never happens. Never. And even with injuries with the Liam coming out, Brian Branch coming out, no Anzalone, this man AG stepped up and he was able to put a defense on the field and was able to scheme against the Cardinals. He only allowed 77 rushing yards. And guess what, guys? On 3rd and 4th down, the Arizona Cardinals were 1 for 11 on 3rd and 4th down. Like, that is something to be proud of. That is something to be, hey, we're talking bully ball on the defensive side of the ball now. That's what that is. So AG, and guys, I want to give Jack Fox the credit, but AG, man, holding a team to 13 points in the NFL and 3 points and a half is one of the best and most impressive things that I've seen out of AG since he has been in Detroit. He deserves credit. I talked a lot of negativity about AG early on. We all did. Most people did. If you said you didn't, you're a liar, unless you're Easy, because Easy was defend the Glenn. But this man deserves so much credit this week. Not even this week, just the first 3 weeks of the season, because there has been injuries. There has been guys in and out, and he's been able to find ways to still get the job done. So I give all the credit to AG, guys. AG gets the third, and I think the best Kool-Aid pitcher of the week.
Yeah, I think you nailed this, Boone.
Go.
I think the honorable mention, Kirby Joseph.
Yeah, Kirby, Jack Fox. I think Kirby, guys, he's been playing very well. I love what Kirby's been doing. Again, I almost wanted to do a double one with the safeties, and I almost did a double one with the running backs. But I figured I would just pick the one that I thought had the best week out of the both of them. So
Yeah,
that
you
was
got
kinda
the
what I
guys
landed
who had
on.
some damn good. Had a damn good week. I don't hate it at all. Good stuff, Boone. I know people. Yeah, look at 935 offense scored 0 points second half. Defense doing the heavy lifting for sure. So yeah, I mean that was good. Shout out to AG. AG getting the love he deserves, man. He's been crushing it this year. He's going to have to step it up in the NFC North. I mean, I didn't know Sam Darnold was playing like a damn MVP candidate. I mean, I didn't know Sam Darnold would be out there slinging the rock. The NFC North guys looks a lot better than I anticipated. The Packers without Love, yeah, they've won two games. Or no, they won a game, they lost a game. Is that how that works?
They're 2-0. They're 2-0.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, because they lost what? They lost the first game of the year, 2-0 with Malik Willis.
Yeah.
Yep. So they're undefeated with Malik. And then Jordan Love's going to come back, which is wild. And then you have the Vikings with Sam Darnold, who are playing well. And then the Bears are still figuring it out with Caleb Williams. So at least those two teams. NFC North, I don't know. Is this thing real? Is this thing kind of real? I don't know.
As of right now, they look like the best team in football. That is what is not real. As far as them being a legitimate, very good team in the NFL this year, I think so. I think they can be a 9 to 10 win team, possibly even more if they go out and they get another. Like if you're 4-0, like the chances of making the playoffs, like you can practically go 500 the rest of the season. You could afford an injury, and you'll be just fine. You'll be in the playoffs. So the Vikings, I think, are a playoff team. But I think as the NFC North plays out, I think the Bears and the Vikings are just swapping spots for where you thought they were going to be. Like a lot of people, Nick Wright called the Bears playing in the Super Bowl with Caleb Williams against the Kansas City Chiefs. Like there was sky high expectations. Some people thought that Caleb Williams was going to be able to lead them to the playoffs this year. And I do not think that was realistic because they saw the success that CJ Stroud had and automatically thought that Caleb Williams was able to do that year one. And that's just not the case. CJ Stroud was an anomaly. He's a very good player. And I think CJ Stroud you can't have that expectation for rookie quarterback, especially with Matt Eberflus as your head coach. So the Bears, to me, are going to be probably a 4 to 5 win team, maybe 6. But I think that's the tier that a lot of people thought the Minnesota Vikings were going to be in entering the season. And the Vikings 4-0, I don't think people thought that anybody was going to be able to expect that. But they're definitely going to be a 9, 10, 11 win team that are going to give the Lions problems. They're going to give any team matchup problems just because of the amount of weapons that they have and the coaching that they have with Kevin O'Connell. And if Brian Flores keeps this up, it's not a talented defense as far as like upper echelon, but that's just the team that's very well coached and they know their roles and they're just physical. They fly to the football and it's a good defense.
And to this comment, real quick.
One of the bigger things about the Vikings is their defense showing up. They've been getting to the quarterback well, and then obviously you swap in Sam Darnold for Kirk Cousins, and he's fit right in. And then you get Aaron Jones, who's had a lot of question marks regarding him because of injuries and whatnot once he left Green Bay, but he looks right back to his old self. And as long as the defense stays consistent for the Vikings team, I think the offense will still be able to do its thing. I don't know how long the Packers will be able to hold up with Malik Willis. I think that's more of kind of, some shade, but these two teams actually play each other next week. So I still think that the Packers are home in that game. I think the Packers will hand the Vikings their first loss, but I think after that, things kind of go downhill as far as Malik Willis goes. Maybe Jordan Love gets back healthy, but I think we still kind of expected the Packers to be probably like 2-1, given it's only week 3. I think that I didn't think they were going to be any worse than that. But the biggest surprise is definitely the Vikings just starting off 3-0, and their defense looks good, and obviously Sam Darnold, he's slinging it. So
I didn't think their defense would be as good as they are. I mean, Jesse Adams, they're doing it without Jordan Addison and T.J. Hockenson.
Yeah, when you add those, that offense gets to a different level too. And like Sam Darnold's been good. Like it's crazy. He had 4 touchdown passes, 180 yards. Like that's why I'm shocked. I didn't really watch the game. We were locked into doing different things, and then you're getting updates on it, and then all of a sudden I see Kevin O'Connell clip after the game give a game ball, and he gives it to he's like 180 yards. Sam Darnold, but 4 touchdowns. I'm like, that offense right now is so efficient. Like Kevin O'Connell, Klotz, I give you a lot of credit too, because we have gotten arguments. I won't give you credit saying that Kevin O'Connell made Justin Jefferson. Those comments.
No, I never said that.
But like the fact that you are like Kevin O'Connell's a very good QB guru. Like I'm with you on that. He's been extremely good. He's been able to get things rolling with this offense. I just think like this shows, and maybe we thought it was going to happen in a year or two, but like this division's tough. This division's very tough. And the Caleb Williams, like Jeff, I know you're a Caleb guy. He did look a little bit better in the second half. I still don't like Matt Eberflus and still think that's like a thing up in the air. But if they somehow just figured out a little bit, they don't even have to figure out a lot. This division from top to bottom is a very good division. Like if the Packers are able to win 2 games with Malik Willis, Jordan Love.
Shout out to LaFleur, man.
Yeah.
I disrespect that man a lot, but
he's a great coach.
But like
it is.
They're supposed to get Jordan. I expect Jordan Love to be back this week. You just went like, I think that's bad for the Lions. Like when I think I was talking to Easy about this on the side. I was like, dude, Malik Willis, like you needed them to go 0-2 with Malik Willis, just like you saw the odds go in the NFC North through the weeks. Like the Packers fell to the bottom. I could pull it up now since we're talking about it, but like they fall to the bottom because Malik Willis goes in and then he goes 2-0. And I'm sure now they're up at the top and it's a lot even than it was before. And like for him to come in and hold it down for 2-0, like all those people who thought I was crazy for saying you need a legit backup behind Jared Goff in case Goff goes down for a couple games, look what Malik Willis just did for the Packers. Like the Packers were dead last in odds to win the division. And then because the sports books thought he was going to go in and go 0-2 or 0-3. And he comes in and goes 2-0 and keeps that one seed alive for them, keeps the NFC North alive for them until Jordan Love gets back. Like, this is a legit division, fellas. We're going to be in a fight. 2 weeks ago when all that happened, we were like, hey, lock it in. Hey, Lions, NFC North, baby. I'm still confident in it. It's a little tougher, though, now, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, real quick on the point about the backup quarterback. It's why coaching matters. Coaching matters. Malik Willis with the Titans versus Malik Willis with Matt LaFleur. Like coaching, especially offensive coaching. So that's why I always, and I've been saying it since the beginning, like they have Hendon Hooker. He's fine. Like he's better than Malik Willis, and the Packers are managing without him. You just have to change some things. You know, maybe you don't have to put a lot on Malik Willis's shoulders. I think he had 19 pass attempts last game, but he's mobile, so he's making some plays with his legs. Like, you know, coaching matters it just matters in the NFL, and the Lions have a great situation. So I'm confident in who they have backing up Jared right now. Like, Hendon Hooker is fine, you know, and seeing Malik Willis gives me more hope.
NFC North odds to win the NFC North. Do you guys remember a couple weeks ago, it was like the Lions, Vikings, Bears, and then Packers? Or there was like the Bears were second after week 1, I think, and the Packers dropped to the last because Jordan Love's injury. It is now the Lions are plus 145, which the Lions were minus 140 after week 1. Then it is the Vikings are second, plus 195. The Packers are third, plus 290, and the Bears are last, plus 1,000. So like those odds have moved so much, and the Packers were dead last at one point after the Love injury, and now that they've gone 2 wins with Malik Willis, they're now in third at plus 290.
Yeah. I mean, it's the Lions. At the one point, they were still favored, even with the division, even with them dropping the second game. Like, they were more of a favorite. It was weird because of the injuries, but, you know, it's something to pay attention to. I think the NFC North, one of the best divisions in football, undoubtedly. And that's why if you're the Bears and you have Matt Eberflus as your head coach and you have Kevin O'Connell, Matt LaFleur, Dan Campbell, and you're sitting there confident with Matt Eberflus, you know, it's just not good. It's not good. And they don't have an O-line either. So, you know, and they asked Caleb Williams to throw like 40-plus times last game. I know it was just, it's like, what are you doing? It's just coaching malfeasance on a rookie quarterback. Ask the man to throw. They don't have a run game. Remember, DeAndre Swift was supposed to be the savior for them. And he's not a bell cow, nor will he ever be. So, Bears, I'm not too worried about at all. Defensively, they have a good defense, but they ain't doing shit this year. So, it's the Vikings because they're well coached, and the Packers once they get Jordan Love back. I mean, that's.
I think he's back this week, guys.
Yeah, he was practicing last week. He was at least throwing. He was there at practice. So, yeah, that's the facts. By the way, Klotz just absolutely taken that shot with the Justin Jefferson thing.
Oh yeah, that's one of the worst narratives that has ever ran on like anything that we've done together. Kevin O'Connell.
That was like one of the first shows 2 years ago. We did Believe Me Later. It was like before Woodward Nights. We did like this show on. It was like Klotz came up to me. I met Klotz. Little background. I met Klotz one day, like first day. Came in, started doing socials with me, and within a day, 24 hours, he came up to me. Hey, Boone, you want to do a show together? I said, all right, Klotzy, I just met you. I don't even know who you are. Yeah, come on.
It wasn't that early. It wasn't that early.
It was like right away. It was like an hour in.
Just called him a stranger.
It was like an hour in. You're like, hey, Boone, I saw
your... from a day to an hour. There's no way.
It was the same day, which I respect it, too. Hey, Klotz,
Honestly, Boone, you helped him out. I mean, you gave him that opportunity that you gave him his big break.
I've met Klotz. No, like, all right, let me give you this. Let me give you this. Hey, Klotz, you're welcome. First of all,
dude, no, we are not doing.
You're welcome.
You shouldn't have said that, Jeff.
No, back to my story. Back to my story. We did believe me later. And the very first show we did was like first segment we did was like core or wide receiver rankings top 5, and we went at it. And Easy came in and hopped on the show, first segment ever, and we went at it about Justin Jefferson as him and Devontae Adams, and then Klotz made a comment was like, Justin Jefferson is a system wide receiver.
No.
I have the clip. I mean, it's in the archives. I will dig it up tonight.
The clip goes against the grain. We've been over this 1,000 times. Like the clip goes in my favor because I think Justin Jefferson is in a great system. Devontae Adams is with Jimmy Garoppolo.
James said he's a system wide receiver.
I said that Justin Jefferson is in a great situation with a great offensive mind, a guy who got Cooper Kupp a triple crown, and you guys are
you said Justin Jefferson got better from year 1 to year 2 because he received Kevin O'Connell, which it was like, no, Justin Jefferson could be on any football team in the NFL and still do what he does.
That's not true.
He is the best wide receiver in the NFL.
Because Devontae Adams in Las Vegas, you put him on the Lions right now.
This is such a bad argument, dude. Justin Jefferson's the best in the league, and it's no question. He doesn't need to be in a
He didn't say that he wasn't.
I know, but he's saying what he's saying is the system helps him be better, which maybe a little bit, but like put him on a different team, he's still getting the same stats as he does now. And put him in Vegas. Put him in Vegas. He'll have better stats than Devontae Adams.
He's getting overthrown.
I don't care. Justin Jefferson will jump up 10 feet and get it.
Like
Justin Jefferson will find a way.
Devontae Adams led the league in touchdowns in Vegas.
Devontae Adams is a little past what Justin Jefferson is right now.
Yeah, I think Justin Jefferson's the best wide receiver in football, but you can't deny like situations help wide receivers.
I agree, but I think that Justin Jefferson's at a different level to where it doesn't matter any of that. No matter what, Justin Jefferson, put him in Carolina right now. Justin Jefferson's putting numbers up. Give him Andy Dalton. Let Andy throw it in.
Andy Dalton out there. Who knows?
Andy Dalton, hey, it's Justin Jefferson. He's going to find a way to get open every time. You just have to have a competent quarterback.
But he plays a ball-dependent, like the quarterback has to hit him.
That's such a bad argument.
Yeah, for you. Like
I just think as the best wide, like you're telling me Randy Moss can't go into a bad team and still put numbers up.
He was literally bad with the Raiders.
Yeah,
he had to get traded away.
He lost his own
argument.
Time out, I need a 30. Give me a 30. All right, let's stop. Let's move on. That's on me. Time out, 30. We're done.
He thought he was cooking there.
All right. That was a tough one.
It's all right. Hey,
still Justin Jefferson, best in the league, and people are in the
I
chat
agree.
saying top 5 all time.
I'm not saying
we all agree with you. He's the best in the league.
I don't know if you guys do.
Oh, this is what I would be arguing with him too, Lucas. I'd be yelling at him too if we were doing this right now.
Of course you would. I mean, you and Klotz work hand in hand.
They just fucking had a tantrum when they heard the word system.
I knew anytime there's an argument, I know Jeff's coming back to the help of Klotz, or Klotz is going to the help of Jeff. That's just how it works.
Oh, please.
That's just how it works.
Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah.
My goodness.
No, two things can be true, I believe. He's the best wide receiver in football. Systems help players. I mean, if you disagree with that, then good luck out there. I don't know. So it is what it is. Fuck you, Klotz. I don't want nothing to do with you. No, I'm just kidding. No, I actually do kind of back up Klotz a lot, but I don't like. Hey, well, no, we scream. Hey, the Jags Colts battles. I don't know how that's aging. They both stink.
Do you want to?
You guys have.
You want to bring up the Jags right now?
Yeah, this is bad.
Booner might go on about Josh Allen.
Can I should cash out of this, guys?
What's the bet?
Booner. No.
Cash out to basically double my money, and I need But like, dude, there's 3 minutes left. And I'm honestly, guys, in my big fantasy league, like my big one, I'm down. I needed 35 points from Josh Allen, and he's not going to play in the fourth. It's over. I need 3 points from him, and that's it. Like, I need like 3 points.
Right before he ran for a touchdown, too.
I know. That's why I was watching it, and then he threw. I thought he was going to throw at least just get a first down, and he throws it away. So I'm like over here right now. I have this bet that I have an opportunity to cash out, and Josh Allen, I could lose both.
At least you didn't have Jawan Jennings on your bench and lose by 20.
Booner, you need 15 yards.
For what?
Travis, right?
I need Brian Thomas. I need Brian Thomas too. I need 20 from Brian Thomas.
Yeah, he could get that in a catch.
Yeah, I don't know how
Don't do
often.
it, Boone.
The time's running out. It's
Booner.
2 minutes in the third.
You always tell me never cash out, and then you're gonna cash out
After Sunday, I
No,
should
for a
have.
only double the amount too.
Jordan Mason,
Mm.
never forgive him.
Oh,
The
yeah.
thing is sports books want you to cash out. Like that's the reason they're giving it to you because they're like, we know you're, but we're gonna have to pay you out. So that's why I always say I'm not cashing out.
I mean, I should have took it. They didn't pay me out. Jordan Mason didn't do anything. So they got me.
Jordan
They got-
Mason, the
Jordan
one that got
Mason.
away.
Yeah, he's on my no bet list now. Screw him. Done with him.
You guys want to know my no bet list? Should I pull it up?
Who's on it?
Hold on. gotta
I
type it
hope.
in.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, that you know who was on it about 2 weeks
No
ago.
bet list. The Houston Texans. Oh no, Houston college basketball team. Houston. I don't know their mascot. Wisconsin basketball. Or no, Wisconsin football. Sorry. Andy Dalton, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and Carson Beck. That's my list.
Carson Beck just made it. Fucking bum, dude.
It's such a weird array of people.
So when did you bet on
Dude,
Andy
this
Dalton
fucking
for him to
man.
make this list?
When he was on the Saints, he was a backup and he came in and he just absolutely. I could probably go look at the box score right now. I switched it. It was supposed to be Andy Dalton with the Saints, but when Andy Dalton just this week got the call up, I took off the Saints because I was like, I'm not fooling myself to get not letting this happen.
Just Andy Dalton straight.
So now it's just straight up. I can't remember. I think it was in 2022 he was on the Saints, I believe.
See, look at the guy up north.
What did he say?
Only double, 100% profit. Stay away from stock trading, boys. Well,
He's trolling me.
Yeah, well.
Yeah,
no,
I mean, I
not
might
wrong.
cash out, guys. If I can double my money here, I might be out.
Yeah,
No,
I'm
it won't let me. No.
cash the hell out.
True.
Yeah, get out of there.
I think you're fine, Boone.
Unc's always so positive.
I should have
Well,
cashed
when it
it
comes
out.
to those bets.
But that's hindsight, though. But still, I mean, it applies. Hey, well, guys, can we talk some baseball here? Can we talk about the Tiger?
How about them Tigers?
Hey.
Tiger.
We didn't get to show them love. Obviously over the weekend, been all Lions. They got a game. Hey, right now, you look, they're in the playoff spot. They're sitting there. They're hanging on. You got the Twins a game back. Tigers, they play this Saturday? This Saturday.
Well, we'll be there this Saturday. They play tomorrow.
Yep, they face the Rays. So hey, boys, Tigers. We talked with Raj about it. Raj, and we bring on Raj to talk to Tigers. He was on last week. He said they will make the playoffs. He doesn't know what they'll do after that, but he talked a lot about what's been positive with this team. And boys, they're chilling in a playoff spot. 5% chance to make it about a month ago. Now they're here. What are we thinking? How are we feeling? Tigers baseball is electric. I don't know what those tickets cost, but about 2 months ago they were $5.
Boone.
Yeah. Just saying.
Hey,
I don't know about you, Boone. I'm all in now. I'm all in, Boone.
No, he's all in.
Boone.
I'm not
We're
even just
making the
all,
playoffs. I will.
It's a lot.
I'll get in front of it. About a month and a half ago, whenever we did talk to Raj, it seemed like a long shot. So I steered away from it. I just said play competitive baseball down that stretch, and they played way beyond that. I would have never imagined that they would be in this position. So it's total props to that team. But Boone, I'm all in. I'm all in, Boone.
yeah, Unc. I put the bet in about a couple weeks ago for them to make the playoffs. Very good return. Won't cash out of that one. They're offering me a cash out. Will not cash out of that one. 'Cause the Detroit Tigers, listen, they control their own destiny. Like they control their own destiny. I'm all in on this Tigers, and it isn't, guys. It's not even just like getting into the playoffs. I think if they get in the wild card here, I think they can win. Like they can make they're one of the best teams in the entire Major League Baseball right now. Not just like they're just sneaking in. No, like they're one of the best teams in baseball. They're dominating over the last month. And it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, all right, maybe it's a couple weeks stretch. Like Klotz, I remember we talked Tigers early on in the season, and you were asking, like, is it just one of those things where they go on a small stretch and then they get back to normal? I don't think so. It feels like this is a thing that's been going on now. It would have ended 2 weeks ago. This has been a month plus now, and they just keep winning games, and they just keep winning games and winning games. And when you get into the playoffs, the hottest teams typically win. We've seen it with the baseball, and I see it a lot in hockey. Anyone can win. We've seen, like, I think, was it the Nationals a couple years ago, I think, that made that run, and just out of nowhere, I think it was the Nationals, and they went on an insane run after the All-Star break, ended up sneaking in, and then ended up, I think, did they win the World Series? Do you remember, Gentry? Do you remember what happened with that?
Nationals, but
there was a team recently.
I get what you're saying. As far as, like, when you're a hot team in baseball, it kind of correlates to hockey as well. Like, if you have a hot goalie in hockey, like, as to baseball, you have a high bullpen, which the Tigers, I don't know how, with their makeshift bullpen that they had after the trade deadline. But if that bullpen stays hot along with these hitters, like, it's not just one or two guys stepping up. You're seeing big plays throughout the entire lineup, and then you're seeing them play as a team in the field, pick each other up. If this bullpen stays this hot and then the hitters, bring this confidence into the postseason, you never really know. It's just like hockey, Boone, just like you said. If you have a high goaltender that, gives the guys in front of them confidence, as if, you got Tarek Skubal out there and he's giving those guys confidence by locking the other team down, it could really go a long way. So I 100% agree with that.
It's big time. I don't know. We got
playoffs in Detroit, man. It's a beautiful thing. Outside the Lions, we had the Lions this last year, and we haven't had playoffs in any team in Detroit in so long. And then you get the Lions, and then within a year, potentially, you have an opportunity to get the Tigers. Detroit fans should be pumped up for that, and the Wings this year should make it. Like, you have 3 teams out of your 4 pro teams are going to be in the playoffs this season. That is unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, who would have thought Tigers beat the Red Wings to get to the playoffs?
I knew he was going to say that.
You
can't say that one written down, typed into the segment. Or Tigers make playoffs before Red Wings. No, that's fair. That's fair, because I think we talked about it. We had a segment like which team would make the playoffs first, or ranking those teams, yada, yada, yada. And I don't think any of us had the Tigers above the Red Wings. So props to them. I mean, hell of a season to turn around and kind of get the city going. The Red Wings are up next, and the Lions too. It's just going to be an electric year for Detroit in general.
I mean, you're absolutely right, Mike. It was a good PR answer. I think this Red Wings season, it's Mike, you said that very eloquently.
Oh God,
very, very well spoken he is. Very, very informative Red Wings.
Very well spoken.
Tigers. Hey, you can't say about the Pistons. I mean, we knew that was going to happen. We knew the Tigers were going to beat the Pistons.
But what's happening this year, Jeffrey?
Hey, we're just hoping that we can clear that 25 win mark. I talked with Kate about it.
Big goal.
Yeah, we're pretty confident we can clear 25. I think 25 should be the, clearable.
What was the goal last year?
I just give me 25. Give me a quarter. Can you give me a quarter? That's all I'm asking for here. I'm just asking for a quarter. Give me a quarter. Give me a Cade potential, all-star nominee. Maybe he doesn't make it. Maybe just
nominee's fair.
Yeah,
nominee's fair. He gets a vote or two.
Just give me a quarter. Just give me 25 wins. Trajan Langdon maybe starts moving some pieces around. JB Bickerstaff's out there yelling.
I am curious to see how that goes. I mean, I know we're not going to deep dive into Pistons right before Mailbag, but they got some new additions, and they got a new coach. So We'll see if it really was Monty's fault.
Yeah, we're going to find out. All right. JD Bickerstaff, you're up next, my guy. You're up. They called him up, man. Well, we'll see. We'll see. All right, get your questions ready. It's 9:50. Mailbag. We'll fire it off.
While the people get their questions in, everyone drop anything. We will answer any questions.
Drop a like as well.
This parlay I hate to keep bringing it up. I just need 12 Travis Etienne yards. Brian Thomas, I just needed 40 yards from him. He hit 40. Four plays later, they took a yard away from him, and he's at 39 now. Like, oh, he only had 39. Like, if I'm hitting everything and I lose by 1 yard of Brian Thomas Jr., that will be one of the most heartbreaking losses, I think, of my career. I genuinely.
Yeah, I mean, J-Mo not getting 16 yards yesterday.
But like, imagine if J-Mo was 1 yard away. You would be like, oh, I mean.
Imagine if Goff didn't overthrow him on that deep ball to the sideline.
Yeah, or just throw it a little earlier. Just give it a half a second earlier.
You're not wrong. Noah Brown.
Hey, Josh Allen, MVP though.
Yeah, I think he should be in the
cooking.
lead. I think he's in the lead right now.
I love to see that.
I think he's in the lead. I don't know who would be like up there, I guess, besides him.
I think he's, and this is a good year for him to go out there and get the job done. Oh my gosh, that would make my year, Josh Allen to win MVP. Allen MVP and then a Lions Super Bowl and Hutch Defensive Player of the Year would be like, it would be like
Booner year.
Yeah, dude, that would be like my perfect year.
The victory lap would be insane.
Imagine the offseason. The people don't want it.
I might not show up. No, I might just not. I might call in sick, dude.
Dude, all offseason long, people, no one wanted to hop on the Hutch Defensive Player of the Year trend. No one wanted to hop on the Josh Allen stuff. And I did get laughed at some people for the Booner path. Like, if all of those three things happen, it is over, man. Over. Oh, some good mailbags today, too, by the way.
Mailbag Steve Lehman, outside of Hutch 6.5 sacks, the entire defense only has 1.5. Is this concerning to any of you?
Yes.
Yes and no. Yes, because of the obvious, like he has majority of the team sacks. No, because it seems like Hutch is cleaning the play up and everyone else is like getting there. So ideally you'd like it to be more balanced. All right. I'm with you there. I get that. So yeah, a little bit. You like more guys to get involved for sure. Absolutely.
I'd say because last year you seen Hutch was kind of the only one getting home. Even if he wasn't getting home, he was pressuring him. So you don't want to fall down that same rabbit hole, especially with some of the injuries you're having to the defensive line. So it is a concern. It shouldn't be all Hutch. Someone's got to get home too.
Yeah, the secondary, not the secondary, but I'm talking about the second string of it, the depth. We did think there was a little bit to where we would have depth, but now that there's some injuries, there is a bit of a concern. Like when Broderick Martin goes on IR and then now Aleem's not sure what's going on with him and the Davenport stuff, and Josh Pascal hasn't really showed up like you would want. Like there are some questions and some concerns I think that you have to look at. That's why I do think like Brad has to go get someone, right? Like he can't just sit back right now. Like you have to make a move. And it has to be a bigger move. It can't be just like a small, like, oh, let's just fill this
I've been saying, dude, trade deadline, they're getting an edge.
Why not just do it now?
Or now. But I think the trade this year is going to be an edge. I think last year is a year too early. So, all right. Let's see here. Big M question: did Coach Booner get fired? He wasn't on the sidelines for Tulane.
Shout out Tulane. I'm gonna do a Coach Booner stream. Oh, the people are gonna love it too. It's gonna be out of nowhere. There's gonna be a Coach Booner stream soon. Ooh, I want to get back on the field.
Yeah, Coach Tulane. You gotta on the field. Show him your dog. Mailbag. Which one of you ding dongs moves Bills over KC in your next power ranking? Oof. I mean, well, I guess you'll find out tomorrow, huh? We'll find out tomorrow. We'll see where those Bills are at. Put them at 9. Oh, let's see. Let's see if Booner puts the Bills over the Lions.
Tune in tomorrow.
That'll be a good one. He's on the hot seat. He's like,
won't do that.
Two of his narratives collide.
Tune in tomorrow.
All right. Let's see. Easy says, Mailbag, what's going on with Joe Burr? I haven't been watching, so I don't know.
What about Jake Burr?
Jake Browning. That's one of the Jake Browning is not.
I don't know. Joe Burrow looked good to like end that Chiefs game, and really in that Chiefs game in general, he looked pretty good. But like you said, haven't really watched now, and they're down 15 to the Commanders. So, and that's at home, so not looking good.
Yeah, how's the Bengals defense? A little shaky, man. I'm not gonna lie, a little shaky. They're not the same defense they've been for sure. So, how's Jaden Daniels playing?
Ooh, He's got a rushing touchdown. He's 10 for 11, a $152, and a passing touchdown. So he's got a rushing, passing touchdown. He's having himself a game.
Jaden Daniels?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. He's
the new front runner for offensive rookie of the year.
No.
No. Jeff is are we talking Trevor Lawrence now? About to go 0-3, bad loss.
I think
losses to the Dolphins and the Browns, and now a blowout to the Bills.
Well, technically that was with Tua. The Dolphins lost. Give me that.
That's fair. That's fair.
But they are 0-3. It's not good. I think this really does put into perspective of the importance of offensive play calling. Okay? Hear me out. Sam Darnold looked like he looked in with the Carolina Panthers, and now he's playing like this with Kevin O'Connell. You're probably going to have to fire Doug Peterson. Okay, you're probably going to have to fire Doug Peterson. But Trevor Lawrence has not played well. He has not played well. He has not been the quarterback that I thought he would be this season. The Jags aren't as good as I thought they would be this season. But they got to make a move, and I think that starts with Doug Peterson. I think they need to just they need to bring in a young offensive mind. Like hire Bobby Slowick. Perfect. Go get Bobby Slowick from the Texans.
Texans, yeah, I guess that's a good
Grab
one.
him.
Or
grab Bobby Slowick.
Or
Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson ends up in Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence.
I just don't know if I'm always like weird of him leaving or not. But yeah, Ben or Bobby Slowick.
I do think though, but Ben has to be in, like, especially a team like the Jags. They're not a terrible team. Like they have some of the roster. Like I remember watching a clip of their owner. I know the owners are always pretty, positive, but they did feel like, which is crazy, that this was the best roster that they had. And like last year they started 8-2, I think it was. The year before they're in the playoffs, and like they just keep improving their roster. It's not like their roster is getting worse. There's no reason for them to be losing games. Like. That's what's shocking to me. It's like that just shouldn't be happening. If you're updating your roster and upgrading it week or year after year, and you're losing games, like that's ridiculous, man. Like you shouldn't look like you do right now. You're about to be 0-3. That's insane.
And just this loss is a bad one too.
That guy at North Mailbag. Repeat the Goff Stafford trade. Would you trade Goff for T-Law and 2 firsts and a third? Would you trade Goff for T-Law? You mean Matt Stafford for T-Law? I think you meant.
Yeah,
or do it now, like trade now. Is that what I don't know?
I'm confused.
But regardless, trade whoever your starter is. I guess we'll go Goff because he wrote Goff for T-Law and 2 firsts and a third.
Probably.
I mean, at the time, like when
2 first, man.
I don't know. I don't want to.
Yeah, this is a tough question.
Yeah, I don't.
In the corner.
Goff.
No, I'm not answering that. I'm a Goff guy. I'm a Goff guy.
I would say no. Yeah, let's just say no.
We'll just leave it at that.
I would say no. I like Jared Goff.
Yeah, I do too.
Trevor Lawrence is 0-3 right now.
Yeah, but I what I always say. It's a team game till it isn't. It's
and it isn't right now.
That's fair. All right, that's fair. Shit. Yeah, we'll just say no to that.
The Goff haters are loving that. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all coming out.
Yeah. And Patrick O'Feary out there, like instantly, like, oh yeah. Goff haters.
It's tough because you're trading for a guy on his potential, and Goff is like what he is now. So, but then he's like, I'm done talking about it. All right, let's just move on. Let's see. Any more questions from the people here? I know someone said let's snipe Josh Hines, streams only. Let's snipe Josh Hines Allen or Trey Hendrickson. Well, you're not getting either. If you were to get a player, you're not getting Josh Hines Allen. They're keeping him. I would assume he's like a pillar. Trey Hendrickson, you might. It seems like the Bengals wouldn't let him go either, but he would probably be the more likely one. Should have got Judon, man. I'll say it, man. Should have got fucking Judon. Been saying it for months. They didn't do it. If he had Judon, this wouldn't even be a conversation. Just wouldn't.
I
Wouldn't even
love-
be thought
the
about
Matthew Judon thing should have happened.
Him
I'm
and
with
Hutch
you.
would feed families for decades. I mean, those
And
two.
I will say I do think that Matthew Judon would have wanted to come to Detroit. Like I talked to you guys. I talked to you guys on the side. There was a side where
An individual you knew close with this individual.
yes, that it wasn't like a confirmed where it was like, yeah, Matthew Judon wants to come to Detroit, but I had spoke with someone and it was like, hey, I was like, hey, let's get him to Detroit. And it was like,
Yeah.
hey man,
What is he
let's do-
doing, Boone?
let's do it.
What is he doing? He's playing for the Patriots who stink.
No, he's the Falcons, right?
With the
No,
Falcons.
he was playing for the Patriots who
Oh.
stink. He wanted a contract. He went to a good team. What do you do? I'll play.
Yeah, and guess what? I think he's.
Yeah.
I watched the Falcons, the Falcons game, not last episode.
said,
I
"I'll
think he
play
might have
it."
got a sack last night, but like the week before, he had a sack. Like he's been playing well. He's Matthew Judon, dude. People were like, "What about his injury?" It's like he's never really been injured throughout his career. Like last week, he has a sack and a half already. Like he's never really been injured through his career. He's always been healthy. He had I think he had a torn bicep or a pec last year. It was like his first major injury in his career. So like, he would have been fine. Like they should have.
Yeah, he has a sack and a half. He has more sacks than anybody else but Aiden on this team.
Yeah,
So-
like outside of
He has
Aiden, everyone has a
the
sack.
entire team, right?
Yeah, take out Hutch. He has more sack. He has the same amount of sacks as our whole team.
All right,
which
let's
he
just
has-
have the
Not
show
ideal.
here. Yeah, no negative. Remember, Boone? No negative.
Hey, Victory Monday, baby.
Yeah.
Throw the glasses on. I love these glasses because it's
Monday.
only a
No more
Victory
negative.
Monday glasses day.
No
Love
more
them.
All right. Hey, appreciate you guys so much. Don't forget, get your merch. I just saw Mike Reed. If you're in the chat, we love you, Mike. You just ordered 2 Run the Ball hoodies. Just got
Go,
another
Mike.
Let's go,
2
Mike.
Run the Ball hoodies from Mike Reed. Big shout out to you, man. Get your Run the Ball shirts, hoodies. I know it's getting into that colder weather a little bit. OfficialCTSports.com. You get all your merchandise. We're adding products pretty consistently. And again, we'll be back tomorrow, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Follow us on all social media platforms above and leave a 5-star review if you're listening to us via audio. But until tomorrow, hey, good show, fellas. We'll catch you.
See you guys. Love you guys.